What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm your host for today, Simon Villanos, aka Coach V here. Now, on this episode 153, we have our Week 11 NAIA Women's Flag Football recap for this 2022 season here. This last week, we saw the last regular season games for the Sun Conference, which I'll talk about later here with my guy, Cottey Stauffer, my other co-host here. And then also, this last weekend, we had the KCAC postseason tournament, the Invitational. And so I'm just going to go ahead and give you a heads up. If you don't want the, results of that postseason tournament spoiled, don't look at the, don't look at the timestamps, right? Just listen it through. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to go ahead and recap all of the KCAC games here, and then I'll bring in Cottey Stauffer here later, and we'll react to the results, preview the national tournament just a little bit with some of these teams, because they will be going there next here in a couple weeks over in Atlanta, Georgia. And then myself and Cottey, we will also talk about the Sun Conference real quick, talk about some of those last games and all that, but that'll be in that segment later. But first off, let's go ahead and hop into this one here, starting with the Midland versus Cottey game here. Now, they've met up a couple times here in the last couple weeks. This would actually be their third meeting in 2 weeks, in these last 2 weeks here. So very familiar. Last couple of times, Midland straight up blew Cottey out. And so going into this one, Midland is definitely favored, obviously having done that these last couple of times. And so here's kind of how it went down. This was it was a blowout. I'm just gonna be real. I'm not going to talk about this one too much because there are other games that I want to talk about a little bit more in depth. But Midland did beat Cottey 45-6 here. Angel Ioane got the starting spot at quarterback for Midland here. She went 10 of 14 for 83 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. I believe 2 or 3 of those came in the first half here. Haley Stanton, she got in this game all in the fourth quarter. She went 8 of 11 for 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 6 rushes for 36 rushing yards as well, getting it done. Michaela Nunez at receiver caught 5 passes for 36 yards and 2 touchdowns. Casey Thompson had a touchdown on 2 reception for 14 yards. And then I want to say it's Spencer Malk. She also caught a pass for 12 yards and a touchdown. I want to say that's their center. So there you go. Cheyenne Durando led Midland at receiver with 45 receiving yards on 4 catches and a touchdown. And then Sade Irvin ran the ball 11 times for 59 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns here. Midland also on the day played very well on defense here. 4 interceptions. Casey Thompson had 1. Cheyenne Duran, Michaela Nunez, and Angel Ioane also had a pick in this game, as this Cottey offense honestly just struggled, and they have been, obviously going into this game. Midland knew them very well, and so this was kind of not really a super close game here. Midland, they scored 3 touchdowns here in the first quarter, and they just didn't look back from there. So there you go. Cottey, obviously a team that is continuing to build season upon season. Obviously this next upcoming offseason, they're getting a pretty big and really good recruiting class here, and so that's definitely a team to look out for. But this season, this is just kind of what happened, and that's how their in-conference play will end ahead of the national tournament. So there you go. So Cottey, they lose to Midland 45-6. Midland moves on, and they play Ottawa right after this. Well, they played them right after this game here, who kind of had a little bit of a bye, if you want to say that. Now, this next game, Midland versus Ottawa, I'm going to go ahead and actually reserve a lot of my reactions for the end here. So I'm just going to recap the game straight up. But here we go. We have Ottawa versus Midland. Winner moves on to the conference championship. And this game was actually pretty close here. Wind was definitely a bit of something to consider, as teams struggled to pass the ball, obviously, with the high winds that were taking place here in Kansas. And so just keep that in mind. But Ottawa, they did take the early 13-0 lead lead here thanks to 2 Jaslyn Camacho receiving touchdowns, but Midland would cut into this lead here at the start of the second quarter when Angel Ioane capped off a nice drive, finding Cassandra Chavez for a touchdown, and that would go ahead and make this a 13-6 game. After that, here in the second quarter, this Midland defense, they came to play early on here as they would go ahead and intercept 2 Madison Carrera passes, picking her off. I believe it's Amari Carroll getting the first one, and then Casey Thompson getting the next one. But unfortunately, despite intercepting this Ottawa team twice, which has not happened really that much, maybe one other game this season, but after that happened, or despite that happening, this Midland offense just could not get anything going, and unfortunately just couldn't capitalize on some of those interceptions here. This did also include a drive where, the clock was winding down. It was near the end of the game. They were on the 8-yard line, 8 yards away from scoring, and they almost scored a touchdown to potentially tie this game, but Ottawa DB Jennifer Anthony went ahead and broke up that pass that was intended for Michaela Nunez to prevent that from happening. And so going into the second half, it was actually 13-6, a relatively close game. In the second half, though, Midland would actually have another chance to score and potentially tie this one up again, but their drive unfortunately ended on a dropped pass on 4th down here, and so that really hurt their momentum, as Ottawa right after that drive would go ahead and score here, Jaslyn Camacho getting her 3rd touchdown of the game, making it 20-6 going into the 4th. And into the 4th quarter, Ottawa dominated here in this last quarter, not allowing another Midland score. In fact, I believe it was Abby Brown, would intercept one of the passes by Angel Ioane here that would go ahead and set up a touchdown to Clara Bodaway. One of the 2 touchdowns they scored in this 4th quarter, the other touchdown going to Alyssa Linkus. And so Ottawa went ahead and kind of survived with a little bit of a scare here, a little bit of a close call, but they still beat Midland 34-6 in a game that they needed to win, obviously, to get to the conference championship. So there you go. Madison Carrera, she went 17 of 22, 170 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, did throw 2 interceptions though, and also had 85 rushing yards, so that's pretty good for her. Jaslyn Camacho, she led this Ottawa offense, the receiving core at least, with 5 receptions, 76 receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. On defense, Abby Brown had 7 tackles and an interception. Jennifer Anthony had 7 tackles and 4 pass deflections. And then Angel Ioane for Midland, not a bad game, only had 1 turnover this game, but she won 22 of 43 for 148 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception, as Ottawa beats Midland, like I said, 34-6, and moved on to the conference championship. Alright, now let's go ahead and hop onto the other side of this bracket here. We have the University of St. Mary versus Kansas Wesleyan University here. Both of these teams, they've met these last couple weeks and had a lot of close games. One that was very memorable was when St. Mary did go up 20-0 on Kansas Wesleyan, and then KWU did lead a 21-point comeback, winning the game 21-20 at the end there. And then you also have a bunch of other matchups where Kansas Wesleyan did beat St. Mary, but it was by maybe a score or 2 here. And so these teams have played each other extremely close, and going into this game, that was absolutely what would happen. And so let's go ahead and hop into this, as this was a very good game here. And so St. Mary, the Spires, they would actually start with the ball here, and it was Ashaya Smith for the Spires that would go ahead and give them their first down on the speed option pitch. But unfortunately, after a couple dropped passes, it would lead to a 4th and 5. They would go ahead and try to go for it here. They rolled out their quarterback, Cheyenne Galbraith, but she did throw the ball and the pass was dropped, and so Kansas Wesleyan took over on offense here. And so on offense here, we have Brianna Hernandez Silva at quarterback. First team, by the way, all conference first team for this Kansas Wesleyan team. And so at quarterback, Silva, she goes ahead and gets this party started with a 20-yard rush to get them into the red zone. Right after that, she rolls out and throws to a wide open receiver in Ashley Hawthorne for the touchdown. Don't get the conversion because of a miscommunication, but they're up 6-0 just like that with 7 minutes left in the first quarter. Now, the Spires, they take over on offense here, and after a penalty was called on the Spires, so after that penalty, Galbraith would then find Jerica Johnson for a big 10-plus yard reception that would go ahead and make up those penalty yards and give them the first down as well. Galbraith after that will then make a tough throw on a hitch route to Ashlyn Tuss, completing that one, which would get them another consecutive first down here as they are moving this thing. Then they pitch it to Ashia Smith, who gets them about 10 yards just short of the first down and the red zone here. But a couple plays later, this Kansas Wesleyan defense, they stand up strong here. And on fourth down, Brianna Hernandez-Silva comes up with a big tackle for loss on Ashia Smith, giving Kansas Wesleyan the ball back. Another turnover on downs. And then right before this quarter ended, Silva finds Angel Roman on a nice 17-yard gain on a drag route to get the drive started, by the way, after a penalty. And then after another penalty, Silva finds Roman down the sideline, who then makes a player miss and gives them the first down at just about midfield. And that's where they would get started here in the second quarter. So here we go in the second quarter. This Kansas Wesleyan team is driving, looking to make it a 2-score game. And it starts with Silva once again scrambling to go ahead and get them into the red zone, and then Silva a couple plays later finds Angel Roman on a short hitch route, who then walks it into the end zone for a touchdown. Once again, they don't get the conversion, so it's 12-0, but still, regardless, a 2-score game with 9 minutes left in the half here. Now, Shine Galbraith, she's trying to take a shot here, trying to get this, Spire offense going, but she takes a shot into double coverage, and Brianna Hernandez-Silva gets an easy interception and returns it in a way that puts Kansas Wesleyan in the red zone. They're maybe 10 or 15 yards away, as this was one of the first plays of this Spire drive here. So already, Kansas Wesleyan, they have all the momentum right here. A couple plays later, on a beautiful timing route, Silva completes a great pass to Angel Roman, who dives and protects the ball for a short touchdown, but once again, they're not able to get the conversion as Ellie Campbell comes up big and deflects that pass. Still, though, they're up 18-0 with about 7 minutes left in this half. And so the Spires take over, looking to score here or get something going right before the half ends. They don't want to go into halftime down 3 scores, obviously. And so here's how it gets started. Galbraith eventually finds Caroline Simpson for a nice sideline snag for about 10-plus yards that would go ahead and get them into Kansas Wesleyan territory. Nice little toe tap catch there by Caroline Simpson there. After that, Galbraith on the run avoids a rusher, then rifles a nice pass to a wide open Jerica Johnson right over the middle, who then takes it into the red zone for a nice 20-plus yard reception. So a huge play for the Spires to jumpstart this offense and team and get them back into this game here. Galbraith 2 plays later then finds Jerica Johnson one more time on a great pass where she falls into the end zone for a touchdown. Then on the conversion here, Kansas Wesleyan, they decide to blitz 3. Galbraith reads it perfectly, finds a wide open Ashlyn Tuss for the conversion, and just like that, they cut into this lead. Kansas Wesleyan, though, still leading 18-7. After that, after a run and incompletion for Kansas Wesleyan on offense, Silva then completes a beautiful throw on a nice corner out to Angel Roman in time for a big 20-plus yard reception. Unfortunately, a personal foul on the Spires adds 10 more yards to that, and so Kansas Wesleyan will take over in USM territory after that series of events. But you have a miscommunication and a false start penalty that would push Kansas Wesleyan back, pretty far back, honestly, bring up a pretty difficult second on long. And then on second down, Ashia Smith, gets a huge sack on Silva, throwing an incompletion there on third down, and that brings up a 4th and 16. And so the Spire defense beginning to play pretty well here, taking advantage of some of these miscues from Kansas Wesleyan and forcing a punt. Now, after a missed opportunity on a deep ball on first down, a player was wide open. It was just slightly overthrown here. Galbraith then finds Jerica Johnson under pressure over the middle for a nice 10-yard reception. She would then find Johnson again, go back to her on a nice little 10-yard out route with about 22 seconds left. And then Galbraith, after running around, pitches it to Ellie Campbell, really close, by the way. Her flag almost got pulled, Galbraith that is, but gets the pitch off. Campbell gets a nice 10 yards with about 9 seconds left, and so that makes it a 1st and goal, about on the 18. But unfortunately, for the Spires at least, Kansas Wesleyan, they bring the pressure, and Galbraith does throw it out of bounds, and so that is called an intentional grounding penalty, as she wasn't out of the pocket, I believe, and plus there weren't any receivers there, and so that would basically end the quarter there. This Kansas Wesleyan defense getting to her and forcing a kind of a tough error to make right before the half ends. And so going into halftime, Kansas Wesleyan, still leading 18-7, but the Spires offense, showing some life here at the end, though. To start the third quarter, though, Kansas Wesleyan, they would have the ball in a spot to go back up by 3 score. And so Kansas Wesleyan, they have the ball to start in the third quarter here, and so to start this drive off, Silva finds Kendra Velasquez Monroe on the check down, who makes a great catch, by the way, and go ahead and gets them the first down on a nice 5+ yard reception. Silva then takes off for a nice scramble for about 8 or so yards on first down, making it 2nd and 3. And then Shannon Cooley, who came back in this tournament. I kind of predicted it last week. I wasn't completely sure, but she came back for this tournament. This is the first game she has played all season. Obviously, last year she was a starter for them on offense and defense. I believe was an all-conference starter as well. But Shannon Cooley came up with a huge sack on 3rd down that would eventually force Kansas Wesleyan to punt this ball. Just great defense by the Spires team to stop them at midfield. Now, the Spires, a couple plays later on offense, find themselves in a 3rd down situation. And so here on 3rd down, Shine Galbraith pitches it to Ashia Smith, the running back, who goes ahead and gets the first down and crosses into Kansas Wesleyan territory, converting there. Galbraith then finds Caroline Simpson on the sideline again for a nice 13-yard reception on the edge of the red zone. Great toe tap catch again by Caroline Simpson, who, by the way, all-conference first-team wide receivers, so keep that in mind. Definitely has had a great season so far. But after that, Galbraith then finds Jerica Johnson on the hitch, who gets the first down and puts them in the red zone, just a couple yards away from another touchdown to cut into this lead. And so on 2nd down, Galbraith pitches it to Ashia Smith, who gets a gain of 10+ yards or so, a good situation, but she basically puts them on the 1 on 3rd down. And on 3rd down, Galbraith throws it quickly to Jerica Johnson, who makes a nice all-hands catch, extending completely for this one, and then bringing it in for the touchdown, making this a 1-score game. On the conversion, Galbraith finds Ashia Smith, who falls into the red zone, getting the conversion, making it 18-14. Kansas Wesleyan, they still have the lead, but the Spires, like I said, they're coming back here. They're ready to make some noise, and they continue to make some noise, as on defense, this Spires defense forces a 3-and-out, thanks to an excellent play by Ashia Smith to stop Jada Wilson on the jet sweep on 1st down. And then on 2nd down, a great job by the Spires defense to shut down an RPO, so read pass option here, preventing Silva from running it and then deflecting that pass as well. And so all of that would eventually lead to a 3-and-out and a punt. And so here we go. The Spires have the ball with a chance to go ahead and take this lead here. After a miss throw on the run to Caroline Simpson, Galbraith then finds Jerica Johnson for about 8 or so yards, just short of the first down here on 2nd down. After that, Galbraith then finds Ellie Campbell on 3rd down over the middle, who breaks this one loose and gets the Spires on the goal line, basically, in the red zone for a first down. So they're basically on the 1 after just a great play by Ellie Campbell to go ahead and snag this one and then slip a couple defenders and get up into the red zone here and on the 1 at that. So just a great play by Campbell here. A big play by Campbell here. And then on first down, Galbraith throws a slant route to Ashlyn Tuss, but unfortunately she does drop this one. And that's how this third quarter would end. The Spires, making a run here, trying to find their way into the conference championship for the first time in program history. And so here we go, fourth quarter. Galbraith doesn't lose faith in her receiver, goes back to Ashlyn Tuss, who brings this one in for a touchdown on a nice little drag route and gives the Spires the first lead of the game here in the fourth quarter. And then on the conversion, Galbraith finds Jerica Johnson, who makes a diving one-handed catch. Just think about that for a minute here. She dove for a one-handed catch. At least that's how it looked to me for the conversion. Makes a catch, making it a 21-18 lead here. The comeback is complete. The Spires has completed an 18-point or a 3-score comeback of their own here on the Kansas Wesleyan Coyotes. At least, so far in this game, there's plenty of a game to be played here, but the Spires have stormed back for now. Now, Kansas Wesleyan, they're trying to respond back here. Their offense has kind of struggled a little bit here, partially in thanks to, the Spires team playing very well on defense. And so they get the first down. But after that, Ashlyn Tuss almost intercepts a pass that was thrown directly at her. But fortunately for Kansas Wesleyan, this one is dropped here. Kansas Wesleyan will then take a deep shot to Kuiwai, but it would be incomplete here, and so that brings up a 3rd and 9 for Kansas Wesleyan. And on 3rd and 9, Silva decides to take this one on her own, calls her own number, splits a couple defenders, and just barely misses out on the first down conversion, making it 4th and 1, just short here. And so here we go on 4th and 1. They're at about midfield. They basically call quarterback power. They stack the box here, have a couple players all stacked up, and so they run Silva up the middle, and she just barely gets across for the first down here, which is a key play for Kansas Wesleyan here. And so they're across midfield. They got the first down. That's big for them. A couple plays later, though, it is 4th and 6. And so Kansas Wesleyan, they need to convert here to keep this drive alive. As time is running out, you just got to keep that in mind. It is the fourth quarter. And so Silva gets the snap. She is running around in the backfield, just trying to buy as much time as possible. Eventually, a receiver flares open over the middle, and she does get the ball to her, makes a very accurate throw, but the receiver cannot bring it in as the ball does fall to the ground here. And so that's a turnover on downs, and the Spires take over with 6 minutes left. If they score here, they basically put this one away, but they're also in a good situation to kind of use up the rest of this clock here. So you got to keep that in mind. They're trying to use up this clock, but ultimately they want to score and go to the conference championship. And so here we go. Galbraith gets this thing started, finding Jerica Johnson over the middle for a nice 10+ yard reception to go ahead and get them across the midfield and get them into Kansas Wesleyan territory. After a Shia Smith rush and a Maya Plotz catch, Galbraith on 3rd and 3 takes it for herself on first down and more, getting them into the red zone. And so they're using all these downs, as you could see here, to use as much time as possible while leading a very methodical offensive drive. And so in the red zone here on first down, Galbraith looking to put this one away, rolls out left, which is interesting because she's a right-handed quarterback, and throws it to Jerica Johnson, who does have a step on her DB, but the ball sails on first down. And so after that play, Kansas Wesleyan goes ahead and calls a timeout with about 2 minutes 59 seconds left. An opportunity that was a missed opportunity for the Spires to go ahead and take over here. And so after the timeout, that would actually hurt them, as Galbraith, she tries to find Ashlyn Tuss, who also has a step on her receiver, but this ball is thrown slightly behind here, and Angel Roman is there to jump this route and intercept the ball. And not only does she intercept it, but she returns it all the way for a big-time pick six and the lead with 2 minutes and 43 seconds left in this game. Just like that, Kansas Wesleyan has taken the lead off of bad offensive mistake here. And so Kansas Wesleyan, they elect to go for the 3-point conversion here. They want to make this a 6-point game. And so no other team has attempted a 3-point conversion, at least that I know of this season. And so here we go. They run the play. But after the play, they call unnecessary roughness on the Spires. After the pass rusher just shoved one of the blockers, she was just being double teamed and whatnot, kind of for a long time. And so Kansas Wesleyan will get another chance at this 3-point conversion, but they're moved up 10 yards. Eventually, though, it doesn't matter as Ashaya Smith comes up big for the Spires, makes up for it, and applies the pressure, stopping the conversion, forcing an incompletion. But the damage is done, though. Kansas Wesleyan, they now lead 24-21, just like that, without even getting on offense, really, for this drive, as it was a pick six. And so the Spires, they have some time here to go ahead and win this game. It is not out of control just yet here. They have an opportunity to win it. And honestly, that's all you could hope for when you're in these late game situations and, you know, you're trying to vie for a spot in the conference championship. And so here we go. Ellie Campbell goes ahead and gets them a first down for the Spires to settle this team down and get this drive started. But unfortunately, on first down, I don't know if this is a miscommunication or what, but Galbraith does take a shot downfield. There is nobody there. I think the timing was maybe just a little bit off, and so that was first down. And then, unfortunately, on second down for the Spires, she tries to throw it to Caroline Simpson, who is over the middle and is open, but it's definitely a lot of traffic here, and she unfortunately overthrows this one as Angel Roman intercepts it again. Just a lot of wind here, by the way, so you gotta keep that in mind. But it's not the greatest decision, to be made in general, as there were a lot of people around. She would have had to make a perfect pass to Caroline Simpson here, and not thread this needle, but she would have had to let her on just a little bit here to complete it. And so this was a pretty difficult pass to make, and Angel Roman goes ahead and makes her pay just because she wasn't able to make a completely perfect pass here. And that would basically be the game here. Angel Roman coming up big for them, as Kansas Wesleyan would advance to the conference championship after this and get another shot at Ottawa here. Kansas Wesleyan wins in a thrilling fashion, 24-21, had an 18-point lead at one point, blew that lead, and then as the Spires were looking to go ahead and add on to their lead here and potentially seal the deal, they throw a pick six on the goal line, and that's how the game basically ends here. And then Angel Roman, she gets that interception on second down on that overthrow here. And so Kansas Wesleyan winning in a thrilling fashion. Some stats here. Angel Roman, 4 receptions, 51 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, 2 interceptions, both in the fourth quarter. One of those was that pick six. Brianna Hernandez Silva won 11 of 22, 100 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 11 rushes for 44 rushing yards. Then on defense, she did lead the team with 8 tackles and an interception. And then for the Spires, you had Jerica Johnson, who just had a career day, just had a very good day, but unfortunately, it just did not work out here at the end. Jerica Johnson, 10 receptions, 121 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. As the Spires, they had their chances to win, like they have all season, and unfortunately, they just came up a little bit short here. And so, here in the conference championship, we got a rematch, Ottawa versus Kansas Wesleyan. Going into this game, Ottawa has beat Kansas Wesleyan in every matchup so far. But, these last couple matchups, they were a little bit close here. They had their opportunities in the first half, and they just could not convert on some of those opportunities, could not get what they wanted on some of those opportunities. And so, going into this game here, they're facing off with Ottawa again, Kansas Wesleyan is, and, this is probably a close game. I've been saying this. I felt like the talent is definitely there. It's definitely close here, but, that's why you have some of these close games, but at the end, Ottawa, they just come out with it. And so we're going to see here if Kansas Wesleyan could go ahead and change the script here. And so let's get this game started here. In the first quarter, Ottawa, they start on offense, and the first drive is powered by Addie Orsburn here. All Orsburn here, the freshman, getting it done. starting this one out with 3 receptions. The first one she snags, gets them a couple yards. The second one, she breaks off for about 10 plus yards and gets them across midfield into Kansas Wesleyan territory, plus gives them the first down. And then her third reception, not only of the game but of this drive, goes for 10 plus yards again and almost gets them into the red zone on first down. Doesn't matter though, as Claire Bodaway would go ahead and get it done on a catch for the first down that would get them in the red zone. Once in the red zone here, Madison Carrera, quarterback for this Ottawa team, also one of the front runners for MVP, or our MVP race here, takes off for a 9-yard scramble. Then she takes it in herself for a 5-yard touchdown run. So just a very methodical drive here, powered by Addie Osborne, but ended by Madison Carrera, as Carrera not only gets this touchdown, but she also gets the conversion, leaning her way into the end zone, really just avoiding those defenders, making it a 7-0 lead for the first down. Now, Kansas Wesleyan, they take over on offense. They get the first down off of a nice Brianna Hernandez Silva 4-yard scramble, but unfortunately, after a couple incompletions, Kansas Wesleyan has to punt it, thanks to honestly just good defense by Ottawa. And so Kansas Wesleyan, they actually commit a holding penalty on first down, and so that actually gets Ottawa an automatic first down to start this drive. So we won't talk about that first play of the drive. But the second play here, I believe it's the second play here, Clara Bodaway, she makes a very good catch on the drag route, getting them a nice couple of yards. And then on a jet sweep, they give it to Bodaway again, who makes it 3rd and 7 here, getting another couple of yards as well. But it would be Madison Carrera coming up big for Ottawa as she breaks off almost a 30-yard scramble right through the heart of this Kansas Wesleyan defense. She just brought it right up the middle, split a couple defenders, made some defenders miss, and just like that, she takes this Ottawa offense into Kansas Wesleyan territory and into the red zone for the first down right before the second quarter. Now here in the second quarter, Ottawa, they're looking to go up 2 scores here on Kansas Wesleyan and build on some of that momentum they had going into this quarter. And so Madison Carrera actually takes 2 shots to Jaslyn Camacho, who's in one-on-one coverage. It's not bad like coverage or anything like that. It's one-on-one. It's good throws both times. So, the receiver definitely had a chance to come down with it. But it's just great. This was just great coverage by Kansas Wesleyan both times here, and they win that one-on-one battle both times and deflect the ball both times here. And so that would actually bring up a first down for Kansas Wesleyan, because one of those throws was on 4th down here. I believe Alexa Mansour getting a nice deflection in one-on-one on 4th down. And so Kansas Wesleyan, they just play very good defense here in the red zone, preventing this one from becoming a 2-score game. And so Kansas Wesleyan on offense, they go ahead and they try to get something going, but honestly, a couple of self-inflicted penalties, such as a delay of game and a false start, which was on the center, ends up killing this drive and forcing a 3-and-out. And so Kansas Wesleyan could not take advantage of that opportunity. Still, though, they stopped Ottawa from scoring, though, so you got to be kind of happy on that. Ottawa, they start this drive with a low snap that is dropped on first down, which does kind of hurt them and pushes them back a couple of yards. Nothing too crazy though, as Madison Carrera would eventually complete an accurate pass to Bailey Hodgins on the nice corner route for about 20-ish yards on that reception that would get them into Kansas Wesleyan territory. So despite some miscues of their own, Ottawa does get the first down and into KWU territory eventually. After that, Carrera takes off for a scramble of about 15 or so yards, getting them into the red zone and giving them a first down here. And so once in the red zone, Carrera, she is blitzed by Kansas Wesleyan, and she sidesteps the blitzers real smooth like and just runs it up the middle for her second rushing touchdown of the day. Just another great play by Madison Carrera, using her legs and just making people miss for that second touchdown. Now, an illegal motion on Ottawa hurts their extra point chances as they do complete the first attempt, but because it was a legal motion, that one doesn't count. And so on the second attempt, obviously they're trying to get the conversion here. Kansas Wesleyan would stop them this time. But regardless though, Ottawa leads by 2 scores, 13-0. So Kansas Wesleyan, they're back on offense, but they just go 3 and out thanks to really good defense by Ottawa, who just limits them to only short passes. And so, Kansas Wesleyan, they have to punt it. But this punt somehow, it goes up, and then it falls down, it bounces backwards a couple yards, and so this is actually a punt of negative yards here, just a very unfortunate punt here for Kansas Wesleyan, and so Ottawa actually takes over on offense in the red zone. Not outside of it or anything like that, just in Kansas Wesleyan territory, but they're in the red zone within the 20 yards of that touchdown. And so they have a short field to work with here. And so Ottawa, they decide to take a couple shots into the red zone in a 1v1. And so once again, it's one-on-one coverage. It's not double or triple. They isolate these receivers to make big plays against whoever's defending them. But Kansas Wesleyan, once again on defense, comes up big and gets the 3 and out here. And so just another very good job by this Kansas Wesleyan defense holding this Ottawa offense in the red zone. Personal fouls after this are thrown out, though, both on Ottawa and Kansas Wesleyan, as this one is becoming a little chippy, This is a matchup that has been known to be a little chippy in the past. It's obvious they probably don't like each other a lot, and there's probably good reason there as well, I'm sure, for both teams. But regardless, though, these penalties offset, so at the end they don't really matter. And so you have a minute and 50 seconds left in this game, and Kansas Wesleyan has a chance to go ahead and dig into this lead a little bit here so that they're not down 2 scores going into halftime. And so to start it, they pitch it to Kendra Velasquez Monroe, who begins this drive with a first down. After that, Silva finds Wiley on a nice throw near the sideline, who gets some 10 plus yards on the reception. This would make it 4th and 3 with about 39 seconds left. They're at midfield here, and Kansas Wesleyan, like I said, they want to go for it. They want to make this a 1-score game here, and so that's what they do here. But Silva is sacked by a pair of defenders on 4th down, and so Ottawa actually takes over with 34 seconds left in this half in Kansas Wesleyan territory. Not super deep into it, but just barely, in it. And on 1st down, they take a shot. It's incomplete, but it's on 2nd down where Madison Carrera threads the needle to Jaslyn Camacho, who just makes a nice sideline catch and walks into the end zone untouched for a 30-plus yard touchdown. Honestly, there was a Kansas Wesleyan defender there. I didn't see who it was, but they just kind of took a bad angle on this pass, honestly. Had a chance to knock it down, but because of the angle, Camacho was able to catch this one and kind of just walk in without being challenged by the defense. And so just a tough play, honestly, in 1-on-1 for Kansas Wesleyan here. After that, Carrera then finds Jaslyn Camacho on the conversion, making it 20-0 going into halftime. This game looks to be just about over, but if Kansas Wesleyan could score here early on, then, there's definitely some life. And Kansas Wesleyan actually gets the ball to start this 3rd quarter. And so here's what happens. Silva then finds Roman, who gets him the first down on a nice 10-plus yard reception to start the half. After a nice reception, they call Roman for flag guarding. So this was on the next play. They called a hitch route to Roman. She gets a nice couple yards, but they call that play back because of flag guarding, and so there's a penalty there. A couple plays later, Alyssa Gillespie, I think I said that right, Alyssa Gillespie here for Ottawa, applies the pressure and forces a throwaway, and so it's 4th and 28 at this point, and so Kansas Wesleyan, they have to punt it. This punt basically stops at midfield, and so that's where Ottawa starts, basically. And so here we go. Carrera goes ahead and scrambles for 6 yards, getting the first down and crossing officially into Kansas Wesleyan territory. Then she scrambles again for 5+ yards. After that, Carrera takes a shot to Bailey Hodgins, who wins this one-on-one matchup, another one-on-one matchup here. And Hodgins, she just beats out her DB just by a step, gets the touchdown here, gets a snag, and scorches this defense for about a 20-plus yard reception and touchdown in the end zone here. Right after that on the conversion, Alyssa Linkus gets the ball on a jet sweep, spins, and then dances her way into the end zone on honestly just really bad flag pulling by this Kansas Wesleyan defense, which is coming just a little undone here as Ottawa leads 27-0. Now at this point, this game is basically over with about 8 minutes left in the third. Kansas Wesleyan on offense, they just struggle to score here and convert here. They would score their lone touchdown of the game with about 5 minutes left here on a long drive, ending with Silva finding Roman. But ultimately, Ottawa wins this and becomes the conference champions, defeating Kansas Wesleyan in a dominant fashion, 34-7. Ottawa's Madison Carrera had just a very good tournament here and game. She went 15 of 24, 177 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. She also ran 7 times for 75 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. And then Brianna Beto led this Ottawa defense with 6 tackles. Kansas Wesleyan, Brianna Hernandez Silva didn't even have that bad of a game. Won 22 of 34, 153 passing yards, 1 passing touchdowns. On 8 attempts, ran for 8 yards. Angel Roman had a school record type of day here, at least in receptions here. She had 11 receptions for 72 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. Lexi Marquez, an all-conference player, by the way, had 6 tackles leading this Kansas Wesleyan team. Kansas Wesleyan, I mean, they only had 1 turnover, an interception this game here. But on 9 offensive drives, and I'm not including one of these drives, so technically it's 10, but one of those drives was like right at the end of halftime, and so they had like 10 seconds left. They weren't going to do anything with that. But on the 9 offensive drives Kansas Wesleyan had, only one of those drives went for more than 5 plays, which is absolutely insane here. The rest of them were below 5 plays. And so, as you can see, a lot of 3-and-outs here. You had that one turnover as well. And so, Kansas Wesleyan on offense, they played a relatively clean game. Didn't have any turnovers, but also didn't make enough plays here to go ahead and beat Ottawa. Despite their defense actually playing really well, especially in that second quarter, stopping Ottawa in the red zone 2 times there. And then, even when Ottawa did score, both of those times were in 1-on-1. It was just the DB just getting caught off guard, or it was just a better play by Ottawa, honestly. The ball just being a perfect ball and all that, being perfect throws and whatnot. So it is what it is. Ottawa, they are your conference champions. Feeling good, you gotta feel good about Ottawa here going into the national tournament. And all that great stuff. They did lose to those Florida teams, but what matters is that they're taking this one step at a time. They won the conference. Now they're going to nationals with the rest of these KCAC teams. Now, before I hop into the rest of my reactions, I'm going to go ahead and stop it here and save those for when I talk with Cottey about, this tournament and about this KCAC regular season, and then we'll preview the postseason here for the Sun Conference. Coming up next. Alright, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. Look, I know I did say we're going to jump into all the content with Cody Stauffer here, my co-host, but real quick, I just realized we did not announce Playmaker of the Week whenever we recorded the rest of that episode, so I'm going to do it right now here. So obviously, there are a couple players that are in consideration for this thing. There are a lot of good football players, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and give it to an Ottawa player, because obviously Ottawa, they won their conference this last week, playing in that KCAC Invitational, and so I'm going to give it to Madison Carrera. She killed it. Through very, very tough weather this game, in that final game against Kansas Wesleyan, she went 15 of 24 for 177 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, no turnovers, also rushed 7 times for 75 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Obviously, if Kansas Wesleyan won it, it would have went to Angel Roman. She had those 2 key interceptions against St. Mary. You also have a Jaslyn Camacho who killed it as well. She had a hat trick against Midland. You have one of the Midland quarterbacks, they did a good job. Sade Irvin was in consideration, but I think it obviously has to go to an Ottawa player here, and I think Madison Carrera, she really stepped it up and played just a very good game. in very windy conditions. She settled down this offense, got them down the field, and scored, and that's why they are conference champions. So yeah, there you go. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring in Kodey here, and we're going to do the rest of this episode. So yeah. All right, let's hop into it. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast here. But I'm here with my co-host, Cottey Stauffer.
Yes, sir.
We are going to go ahead and react to the KCAC tournament reaction, KCAC Invitational here. So if you're just tuning in for the reactions, then you did not hear my entire recap. And if you haven't done that, go ahead and just go back a couple minutes and listen to that. There's a lot of great games that went down, and so we're going to go ahead and just go down the line, talk about each of these games here, react to them. I held a lot of my reactions for this, so we'll just do that. So yeah, but let's go ahead and get this thing started. Talk about, I guess, the wild card game, if there was any. And so that was Cottey versus Midland. The winner of this played Ottawa, who basically had a bye here. And so, look, third time in 2 weeks that this team has played each other. Midland has blown them out each time. Midland did not give any, or I guess Cottey did not give out any surprises here, as Midland did beat them 45-6 here. Angel Ioane finished 10-14 for 83 yards, 3 touchdowns. I want to say 3 of those touchdowns came in that first half as well. Haley Stanton did finish this game at quarterback, playing all of the fourth quarter, went 8 of 11 for 75 yards, 2 scores here. Also had 6 rushes for 36 yards. Altogether, a very clean game offensively for Midland, which, whether they win or lose, we've been pretty critical about how clean of an offensive game they played, especially from the quarterback position, because they have talent over there. It's just been a matter of putting it together. Kodey, what did you think about this dub here for Midland to go ahead and beat Cottey here? Obviously, Midland was favored, though, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Midland was favored, and I'm not really surprised by how this game turned out necessarily. And it was good to see both quarterbacks find success in this game, because I know that both these quarterbacks have had struggle kind of establishing a rhythm throughout the season. And, I think that they really needed this kind of offensive performance to fare as well as they did heading into, their next game against the top dog. But nothing too out of the ordinary here. Nunez making plays as she does. We know Haley Stanton's game, so, having a couple of rushes here. Her passing performance is very, very efficient, more efficient than the previous week where she got the start. Because I know that she had some trouble getting that completion percentage up that previous week, but very efficient passing performances out of both QBs here. Got to be pretty excited heading into that next round.
Yep, absolutely. Just very, very big confidence booster type of performances here for both. A good tune-up game, I would say. No disrespect to Cottey, but also Cottey, I think, is probably a year away from really, really competing. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. This recruiting class they have is special. The second recruiting class that they're bringing in is special. I guess it's their third. And so I would be more on the lookout for Cottey next year, but this is still a good learning experience for all their players over there. We know what they could do. They know what they could do, and we've given them their respect. But right here, right now, it's game time, right? It's the postseason, so it is what it is. But yeah, Kodey, did you have anything you wanted to say about Cottey before we move on here?
I do think that they're probably a year out here, but we'll talk about this a little bit later. They did have some selections that were all KCAC and, a starting point for them. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, then. Well, let's move on here. And so after Midland beat Cottey, they turned around and they played Ottawa here. I did say this in the recap. The wind was definitely picking up quite a bit here, and it will not go away for the rest of this day, which is basically the rest of this tournament here. And so it definitely had a little bit to do with how this game turned out here. Basically, Ottawa still won, though, 34-6. But I feel like the score doesn't really do this thing justice here. Kodey, do you want to actually react to this? Talk about how, I guess how well Midland played and how it ended up being 34-6 and your reaction to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the first thing that I want to say is out of the 40 points that were scored during this game, only 6 of them were scored against the wind by either team, and that was Ottawa. So both teams struggled a lot with the wind. I'd say especially in the second quarter, this Midland defense capitalized to, having the wind at their backs, maybe a little bit more than the offense maybe did, because, they had this one interception where, it was kind of like tipped up in the air. And I think that this pass was heavily influenced by the wind, because it just looked like it didn't really have enough juice to get to Madison Carrera's target. And Midland just made a heads-up play, popping it up and getting an interception. So, that was big time and opportunistic by this defense. And then the red zone interception, I want to say it was Austin. But anyways, when Ottawa was in the red zone, I was like, oh no, like they're about to go up by 2 scores heading into the half. This is a really bad setup. And, it was just a tough situation that I think Midland put themselves in. But, Madison Carrera, she got a little greedy. And, Midland here just makes an excellent play. I wouldn't even say it's a bad read, because I don't think Madison saw the defender there, who just made an incredible play on the ball and, forcing that turnover in the red zone. That gave me a lot of hope here for Midland heading into the rest of this game. Just thinking, hey, they had their backs against the wall. They made some good plays. They were getting into a rhythm on offense. And, with the wind at their backs, the Midland offense they were clicking here in the first half, completing a lot of passes here and just kind of dinking and dunking and picking up, 5 or 6 yards at a time until they needed a first down, and just gradually kind of wearing down this Ottawa defense. And, I will say that they definitely had a missed opportunity to end the half there that could have changed this game a lot, honestly. I know that I want to say that they might go down as drops, but both of these passes in the red zone to end the half were incredibly tough on, Midland's behalf. And the Ottawa defense made an incredible play on that 4th down attempt for the end zone. But once the wind wasn't at their backs anymore, to open up the second half, Ottawa struggled going into the wind, and then, it was just more missed opportunities by Midland to really. This game was a lot closer than 34-6 is what I'm trying to say in short. But, they have to take advantage of these opportunities that are given to them when the wind is at their backs. I think that they easily left 2 touchdowns on the field with the wind at their backs. Obviously, the 4th down and goal, you have that. And then you have in the second half, you have the deep shot that Ione takes, and it just sails past the receiver. But then on the very next play, she hits this pass, and the receiver drops it. And it was heartbreaking to watch, and I feel for that athlete. But honestly, part of it's, where does the blame come from? You should catch every pass, right, as a wide receiver coach. I live heavily by that philosophy. But when you're playing the quarterback carousel game throughout the season, maybe the receiver isn't expecting the pass at that time because the chemistry just isn't there, or something along those lines. I feel like that plays a little bit deeper than the face value of the drop. Simon, obviously, I'm the last person to excuse drops, but what do you kind of think of these missed opportunities by Midland? And, how different of a game is this if Midland capitalizes with these two, I think, very easy touchdown situations?
Well, it's not easy touchdown situations because it's Ottawa, but it's situations and opportunities that they had.
One's in their hands, at least.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So that fourth down low deflection or breakup here was made by Jennifer Anthony, and she's arguably one of the best DBs in the entire KCAC. So in general, I know you wanted to get it to Michaela Nunez and all that. She's probably one of your top receivers, throughout Cheyenne Duran and some other receivers as well. But I don't know if just matchup-wise if that was the best look there. The ball still got there. She should have made the catch and all that great stuff. But Jennifer Anthony, she's a great player for a reason too. I don't think she leads the KCAC in interceptions, but she has definitely been pretty consistent these last couple of years. So that's pretty tough. Not to make any excuses for Midland. If you're Nunez, catch the ball. If you're the quarterback, I don't know, maybe wait a half second or lead your receiver on just a little. I don't know, but regardless, though, you could go around talking about the receiver should have caught it, quarterback could have made better decisions. Just in general, Angel Ioane at quarterback, she got the full start, didn't play bad. 22 of 43, that's just over 50%, closer to 50% than 60%. I'm not going to say if she completed 60% of her passes, this game would be that much more different. But, you got to take the opportunities that are presented to you and make the most out of it. I think it kind of felt just a little bit at this point that, the moment seemed just a little, and this isn't disrespect, but it just felt like the moment was just a little bit too big here as the game went on. And, as it felt like Midland could potentially win this game as well, just because they haven't been really in any of these situations throughout this season. They haven't won a close game this season. All their wins have came over Cottey, which is literally no lie. Like, all their wins have came over Cottey, because they also got beat by Florida Memorial, and that was another close game that they kind of blew there. And then you have games against they beat St. Mary, right? At least once.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was super. So that was the only other close game, I guess, because that was a little bit of a shootout. But I don't really feel like they were behind in that game, and then they came back to win. And so this is, in my opinion, just kind of a situation where they just haven't been in. Maybe some of these players have been in this situation back in high school, but it's different between high school and college. There's definitely a talent gap there. There's obviously things that are a little bit more fluky that might happen in high school. And in college, you have to be on top of your game and playing the best you can to compete, with some of these teams, especially a contender like Ottawa, who still is the defending national champions. They're defending their title, so it's not like they're like, they're like a Thomas, who's a first-year program, but they're obviously a contender, or a Kaiser who's kind of been close to winning it, but haven't quite won it. No, they're playing the national champs. And so when you play the national champs, every opportunity matters. You have to play a perfect game. Maybe you have a couple mistakes here and there, but you leave that up to the wind and the weather and just say, hey, it's just bad luck. But other than that, you have to play a perfect game here. You can't have drops. If the ball hits your hands, you need to catch it. I absolutely agree there, especially this far into the season. There really is no excuse for that. And so it's just missed opportunities. But like I said, they really haven't been in a situation where they've been coming back from behind. And not many teams have. In the KCAC, not many teams have. In the Sun Conference, we've seen a couple, but that's kind of a different story there. So it is what it is. But this was definitely a close one. It was 20-6 going into the fourth, right?
Yeah, and then Ottawa had the wind at their backs, and
it's a wrap.
And yeah, you have to take advantage when the wind is at your back in these tournaments. And you also have to find a way to move the ball when you're going into the wind as well. And that's what separates, the team that, eventually does wrap all this up versus the teams that just weren't quite there, is the adaptation to the wind, especially. But I mean, the Midland defense, I think that they basically did everything that they could during this game. And, the offense left some things to be desired. Also, that Midland touchdown reminded me of like it's the same concept as a Tebow jump pass, but without an offensive line in front of you, so you can shovel it. So that gave you a little bit of a Tebow play call flashback there, with that sprint shovel in the end zone. That was a great catch by their center, by the way. She really had to dig for that one. And, like Midland has athletes on this squad. This game gives me something, I feel, to kind of look forward to heading into nationals for this Midland squad. I mean, you'd rather have competed and won in the KCAC Invitational, obviously. But, when you're able to move the ball pretty well against one of the top defenses in the country, your quarterback is making a lot of good decisions, I feel, throughout this game, and your defense is stepping up to the plate against a very, very, very talented KCAC squad, then, there's a lot to be happy about here. But, at the end of the day, there was just a little bit that they just have to finish these big plays. And hopefully, having been here now in this kind of competitive situation in this tournament, maybe they'll be able to take that experience and convert next time around come nationals.
Yep. But, even then, though, it's still I would say it's still a good thing to, learn from in general, moving forward, even into next year. I mean, this wasn't a bad showing from their starting quarterback, Angel Uwani. But we'll just keep that in mind moving into next year. Like next year, I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there as well. Up in Nebraska, I feel like almost every Midland game I watched, it was super windy. Like almost every home Midland game I watched, it was super windy. Like it was real tough to throw in, and that's kind of just the situations that they are used to working in. And so next year, I'm just going to be honest, there really shouldn't be any excuse for them to, not be able to move the ball on offense because of the wind. If anything, they should be practicing in it, and maybe, definitely be starting the quarterback with an arm that can cut through the wind, as tough as it may be an ask, So I'm just going to throw all that out there. Just a couple of things to take away from this game here. I mean, win for Midland shouldn't be a problem, specifically for them, I would say. So I'm just going to say that.
Also,
go ahead.
I want to bring this up. I took a screenshot of the halftime stats of the games because I found them interesting. Look, Midland at halftime had outgained Ottawa by about 50 yards, mostly through the pass game. Like they had 173 to Ottawa's 126. They had 3 more first downs than Ottawa, and the time of possession was 18:08 to 5:46 in favor of Midland. They were also winning the turnover battle. How often do you see a team outgain the other one, have more first downs, less turnovers, and 3 times as much possession, and have a touchdown less? That's insane, right?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely insane. It just means that, they missed on opportunities. And, I mean, those matter. A lot of opportunities, to be honest with you.
You got to convert.
Yeah, I mean...
Because all of this makes me think, if I didn't see the score, and somebody just read these numbers out to me, I would assume that the first team is winning by like 2 or 3 scores.
Right.
If I had heard that Ottawa had this kind of like advantage over someone, I'd think that they'd be up by like 5 scores. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to capitalize. Have to.
Yeah, no, for sure. So they'll learn. I mean, that's kind of been the story throughout this entire season for Midland. Defensively, they've looked real good at times, have shown flashes. I think If you want to talk about a complete defensive game, I mean, they played a good, solid 3 quarters of really good defense, I would say, for the most part. But, offensively, you got to help them out. There's only so much the defense can do, especially in a game like flag football, which is, I would say, even more so, centered around the offense than the defense, because you have to have a good offense and whatnot in flag. I mean, in any sport you do, but I think in flag football it's definitely more offensive heavy, and so, yeah, there you go. But Ottawa, they move on, though, to the conference championship to defend their conference title.
Midland, My bad. Who's your player of the game in this game?
My player of the game? Probably Madison Carrera. Jasmine Camacho's up there. She obviously caught all 3 touchdowns as well, but Madison Carrera, 17 of 22 is not bad in the wind. That's pretty. She only missed 5 passes, so that's pretty good here. Did those 2 interceptions. It is what it is. She still threw 5 touchdowns. You can subtract those 2 picks from the touchdowns, and she still threw 3 touchdowns. Also, ran for 85 yards as well.
That Thompson interception was just a great play on Midland's part, really. So I don't even blame Pereira too much for that one. That was just a very athletic play.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would say offensive player of the game would probably go to Carrera. Defensive player of the game, either Jennifer Anthony or Abby Brown here. But Jennifer Anthony, she had 7 tackles and 4 pass deflections throughout this game. So that's
including that she had that one in the end zone too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So that was huge. That
well,
was.
What about you though? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. No, I agree with that take. I was going to say Jennifer Anthony for like my defensive player of the game, but offensive player of the game, I was thinking Camacho. But the dimes that Carrera dropped for those Camacho touchdowns, got to give it to the QB on this one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Carrera definitely dialed it up here. So, obviously they don't win this game if she's not playing well. I think this game is a lot closer if she's not playing well or, the level or caliber of quarterback that she really is. So, there you go. But like I said, Ottawa wins this one. Midland, definitely things to work on, things to be happy about here. Should they be satisfied with losing? No, but they should be satisfied with some of the things they did here, because it's not like they just played horrible and just got whooped 34-6, and the 6 points was like a pity touchdown. As it has been before, in this regular season. I'm just going to be honest with you. So this was a pretty competitive game here. And, I mean, Midland, they were a couple plays away from at least taking a lead. And then once you have a lead here, you really never know, So, yeah. But, Cody, is there anything else you want to say about this game before we hop into the next semifinal game here?
Nope. I think it's time to talk Spires versus Coyotes here.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and read off the score here. Listen to the recap. I'm going to say this one more time so you could pause this recording, pause this podcast, whatever, and then go listen to the recap of this game, because it was pretty wild here. Because Kansas Wesleyan won 24-21. That score doesn't sound super crazy, but there are a lot of lead changes in here. So, I mean, look, I'm just going to be honest with you. Kansas Wesleyan, they're leading 18-0 at one point. And then the Spires, the University of St. Mary's, they went ahead and came back from being down 18 points to leading in this game here. I believe they're leading 21-18, right, here in the fourth quarter after that Jerica Johnson conversion and that Ashlyn Tuss touchdown. And so they were leading 21-18. The Spires, they seemingly made the comeback here, and then they stopped Kansas Wesleyan, and they had the ball back and had an opportunity to not only score, but basically put this game away and punch their ticket to the conference championship here. And, oh my God, it changed so quickly. Oh my God, it just changed so quickly here. And so, well, now that I'm kind of already talking about, this game, I'm just going to go ahead and say what happened here. I mean, they basically drive all the way down, use up as much time as they possibly could have on this drive, and then on the goal line, they throw a pick six. And it's one thing to throw an interception, because then, Kansas Wesleyan, they have to go the length of the field and score, and obviously the win has been an issue all day, right? But it's another thing to not only throw a pick, but it's returned for a touchdown. And it was Angel Roman who got that pick six. And obviously, she's an excellent player and all that. But, I mean, this ball, it wasn't even a bad decision here. I think it was just a bad throw. Like, if she threw it in front of her receiver, she had to step on Angel Roman. She would have probably had a good chance to at least extend out and make a play on it. But it was behind the receiver. Angel Roman was there, and she housed that one. So, there you go. And then even then, the Spires still had a chance to win this game here. By the way, Kansas Wesleyan tried to go for a 3-point conversion, and even after a penalty, it didn't work out. So there you go. So the Spires still had a chance to score a touchdown and win this game late here. But once again, another Angel Roman interception. This time, it was definitely a bad decision. I probably wouldn't have called this play here or thrown it over the middle, because there was a pretty tight window here. She tried to throw it over the middle. There were definitely a couple defenders here. Like, she was trying to thread it through a couple of zones. At least it looked like it was a couple of zones. And the ball just was not accurate at all. I feel like the wind probably, had some say in it. And it was intercepted by Angel Roman. And that was the end of the game. And, Kansas Wesleyan went from blowing an 18-point lead to winning because of Angel Roman at the end. And that's how they went to the conference championship, which is, I don't know. I'm pretty shocked. I'm not going to lie. Kodey, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it to you. What was your reaction to this game as a whole? Because this was a good one.
I mean, it was a wild game for sure. I mean, once, Kansas Wesleyan jumped out to this 18-point lead, I was like, I was a little skeptical on where the game was going to go, because I think it easily could have gotten out of hand. And I mean, heading into halftime, I'm just going to read this out again. I mean, St. Mary, they obviously score before the half ends, which I think is necessary for this comeback to be possible. But, heading into half, they had outgained Kansas Wesleyan. However, they did have a turnover there in that first half, and turnovers ended up being the name of the game for this Kansas Wesleyan team to sneak out this dub. I mean, 3 interceptions this game. It's really hard to win a football game when you throw 3 interceptions. And, Galbraith was playing her butt off this game. Because, they're not in it without her 3 passing touchdowns either. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, if you're St. Mary's, you have to get a flagpole on that pick six, or you got to do something here to kind of meet your quarterback halfway. But Galbraith, she showed a lot of patience and poise throughout this game that was super up and down for her. But then I think you can tell that it finally got to her on this final drive, where she just looked uncharacteristically, for this game at least, rattled. She just didn't look as comfortable as she looked the rest of the game. I mean, throughout the game, especially during the comeback parts of the game, they were creating a good pocket for her, and she was maneuvering it very well, and she was just dialed in and completed a lot of passes, got into a really good rhythm to help drive them back into this game. And, they had some other athletes step up. I mean, Smith had an incredible game. Ashaya Smith, I want to say, out of the backfield, and had some good rushes on some pitches and options and whatnot from, Galbraith. But Jerica Johnson was on one this game. Like, she was blowing every catch she was making was basically a highlight reel catch. And without Jerica Johnson carrying this receiving core, 10 receptions for 120 yards and 2 scores, not to mention that one-handed sweet extra point attempt or extra point conversion, I should say. Jerica Johnson just had like magnets for hands this game, and helped use these hands to kind of claw back into this Kansas Wesleyan lead and eventually take it over. But not to be outdone, Angel Roman is a KCAC first team player for a reason, and on offense and defense, and she showed that this game and went into takeover mode to clutch this. And I mean, you got to be kicking yourselves in the butt a little bit here, St. Mary. I like the grit that was showed by them, but I feel like this close but no cigar kind of saying and phrase has summarized the St. Mary season up until this point. You watch their games throughout the season, and they have a lot of home run passes that just don't quite land. They're just like 2 steps ahead of them. They, reach out for first downs, and they're just a little shy. And in this game, they're just short here, in the red zone with a chance to, put the nail in the coffin, honestly. They just don't quite step on Kansas Wesleyan's neck here. And, Angel Roman, kudos to her, obviously, for making an incredible play. But on the St. Mary end, definitely a heartbreaker.
Yeah, they're going to remember this one. They're going to remember this one for sure. Because they played a real good game. I mean, look, okay. In the second half, they played a real good game. In the first half, there were a lot of opportunities that were just missed. I mean, I feel like they were just struggling to move the ball at all on offense here, and it was just kind of a tough go. I mean, they did have a couple conversions, they had a 4th down play here I'm looking at here in the first quarter where, it's 4th down here and Brianna Hernandez-Silva comes up with a big tackle for loss on Ashaya Smith. That's just a one-on-one battle, and Smith didn't win that one. And they needed 1 yard, so that's kind of just tough there. And so, there are just opportunities that you could point out throughout this whole thing. Those mistakes at the end, I mean, if you're new to flag football and all that stuff, one could be like, why are you passing it on the goal line? You should run it. Look, passing it in flag football is at least 70 to 80% of most offenses, especially when you get into the red zone. It's basically 90% unless you have like an ultra athletic quarterback like a Madison Carrera or even a Brianna Hernandez Silva. And really then you kind of still have to draw up a pass play and then, run it in. And if you remember, let's go ahead and rewind here a couple weeks ago. There was a time where, not a time, but there was a game where, Kansas Wesleyan and St. Mary, they were playing each other. St. Mary, they had like a 20-point lead or something like that. Kansas Wesleyan came back, scored 21 straight in the second half, and St. Mary still had a chance to win this one in the fourth quarter, and they were at the goal line, and they decided to run it there. It definitely looked like a designed quarterback run, which at the time I was pretty critical of because it just wasn't even a well-designed quarterback run, if I might be honest there, And so going into this game, I mean, look, they're at the goal line. They're going with what's been working with them, and that's their passing game here. And so I don't blame them for passing it, but sometimes it does come down to a play, If you got to be – I mean, look, if you're throwing into the wind and all that, you just got to gut it. And if you overthrow it, it is what it is. But don't underthrow it, because if you underthrow it, 90% of the time it's probably a turnover, And so – and plus, and that's partially because, the Spires, they have really good receivers, pass catchers as well. And it's just a tough game. I mean, the tough part about this was that Shannon Cooley, she did come back for this game as well after being out all season. She'll be available for the national tournament as well. But, she came back. You could tell there was kind of a surge of energy there, because she was starting on defense at linebacker, and she made some pretty big plays for them, especially here in the second half. And so the thing that just kind of sucks about this is that, this Spires team, there's a lot of seniors on this team. Their starting quarterback, senior, she won't be back next year. Jerica Johnson, senior, had 10 receptions, over 100 yards, a couple of touchdowns. She won't be back next year. Your top receiver, Shannon Cooley, you had experience playing without her this season, but it was still good to have her in this game. And also defensively as well, she gives you a little bit more juice and depth. She won't be back next year. Just looking at this roster, they are losing kind of a bit of seniors. You have a couple freshmen here, obviously, like Caroline Simpson. She's an all-conference player, first-team player. You have Ashlyn Tuss, who has made some big plays here. Ashai Smith is out there as well. Ellie Campbell, but other than that, you do have kind of a heavy senior class. So it's hard to say, they'll learn from this and get better, as some of these players, they have maybe a handful of games left in their collegiate career. And, you got to be better or it's over, in those games. And then you have some of these younger players here. They're going to hopefully, carry on this culture for the Spires here. And I'm sure they will. I'm not going to say hopefully. I'm sure they will. But, it's just kind of a tough loss to take on the chin here to end this conference play, So, but regardless, someone's going to have to learn from it. The Spires, I feel like you said, Cody, they've been close but no cigar in so many situations this season. And it's just unfortunate that, they've just been on the wrong end of pretty much all of them. So,
yeah, it is tough. And, once that pick six happened, and after seeing like the first play of St. Mary's drive, I was not sure about St. Mary's chances of driving, not only because they had quite a ways to drive, but, Galbraith she looked super rattled following that play. And so, these are lessons that you can take with you into next year, just like, what can we do to just maybe, and I'm not saying that Galbraith here isn't mentally tough, but in this situation, she was definitely shook, So it's like, how can I forget about this last mistake that, that you can, there's two things that you could be thinking here, right? Where it's like, oh no, that pick just cost us the game. Or you could be thinking, sweet, I still have 2 minutes with the football. You know what I mean? It's subtle things like that I think make a huge difference in games like this, where, they still, on paper have a chance to win this game, but the momentum swing, it's just a really tough situation here. But I do want to give, props where it's due. Jerica, if St. Mary's wins this game, I'm probably picking Jerica Johnson as my player of the game. She played phenomenal on both sides of the ball here, especially on the offensive end, catching half of Galbraith's completions, mind you. So, pretty solid game there. But with the game ending the way that it did, I don't know how you couldn't give it to Angel Roman for player of the game here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Angel Roman had 4 receptions, 51 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Then on defense, had those 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter, including that pick six. So she obviously wins player of the game here. I do want to shout out Brianna Hernandez-Silva, 111 of 22, 100 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, no turnovers. Ran 11 times for 44 yards. Also on defense, led with 8 tackles and had an interception of her own as well. Look, it's easy to probably throw turnovers and interceptions in the conditions that this game was played in. I think Silva, for the most part, she had a pretty clean game. No turnovers, really not too many bad decisions. Because I feel like, honestly, if Kansas Wesleyan committed even 1 turnover from the quarterback position or on offense, then, the Spires would have won, probably, because that means they would have had better positioning, clock would have been different, all that great stuff, right? And so for Silva to play as clean of a game as she could and really just, hang in there as the leader of this team, even when they hit that rough spot here in this fourth quarter, that is pretty big for them. Also defensively as well, she had a couple of stops, including, like you said, that fourth down stop earlier in this game, and then also grabbed an interception. And so she contributed quite a bit on defense as well to, build that 18-point lead. So yeah, obviously also throwing those 3 touchdowns to build that 18-point lead. So yeah, but Kansas Wesleyan, I mean, hey, they're tough, man. They've definitely, overcame some challenges these last couple of weeks here, especially whenever they play the Spires. This is an interesting matchup to look forward to next year because, these games between these Coyotes and Spires have been real entertaining. I'm not even going to lie. Most of the time, it's one of these teams blowing a lead, but still, though, it's pretty dope. So
the games are competitive, but in order for it to become a rivalry, both teams have to win. So that's my challenge for the Spires here.
Well, the Spires need to win. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. But do you want to go ahead and move on to the conference championship here?
Yes, absolutely I would. And so here in the conference championship, you have the winners of the semifinals. That is how tournaments work in Kansas Wesleyan and Ottawa. And gosh, Ottawa was not playing around. I mean, this opening drive that they have, it just let me know what level Ottawa is on, right? Because they eat up 5 minutes. Carrera looks way more poised and adjusted for the wind in this game. Like, seriously, between the Midland game and this game, I want to say there's a visually substantial change in the style of play of this Ottawa offense, in the play calling, and in Carrera's poise. Like, she's adjusted to the conditions of that day, and now Kansas Wesleyan, whether they know it or not, this early is in trouble. And, Carrera's athleticism and decision-making on when to run the ball, it cannot be understated that it is elite, okay? And we'll talk more about her overall performance of this tournament following this game, but I mean, she was just dicing up this Kansas Wesleyan defense, and, they were just picking up the yards that they needed to here and there, not to mention that, I want to say it was Addison Osborne here opens up with a really good drive here, and her importance cannot be understated because even with the couple of passes that she catches here and, her athleticism to pick up extra yards past to force missed tackles and flagpoles, I should say, she's also an incredible shadow blocker. Like, probably the best that I'd seen all day as far as just one-on-one using her footwork and stuff. And her importance cannot be, I think it's a little overlooked here. I haven't really talked about shadow blockers too much throughout this season, but it's little things like that make Ottawa and make them the force that they are throughout this game and throughout the entire season. And so, after eating up the first 5 minutes of the clock, I mean, just a great drive to start this game. Kansas Wesleyan, you have to respond here. But throughout this first half, the Kansas Wesleyan offense, speaking of mental toughness, they did not look like they were ready for this game. You had false starts, you had false snaps, you had delay of games, you had miscommunications on throws and stuff like that. Kansas Wesleyan looked like a mess heading into this game, and it just seemed very uncharacteristic of them to be playing this game as rattled as they seemed or scared. I don't know what it was, but they looked like a big mess, and you cannot do that against this Ottawa team. Granted, their defense does step up here to force a turnover on downs and whatnot for this Ottawa team, but their offense just doesn't really return the favor, and I don't think they crossed midfield the entire first half. KWU, that is.
Nah, they did not. I have a stat here for you in a minute, but I want to first, though, give respect a little bit more to this Kansas Wesleyan defense because they played really good in this first half. If this offense was up to par, there was probably a good chance that this Kansas Wesleyan team would be leading over Ottawa because, this defense just played really well. There were two times where Ottawa was in the red zone, kind of on the edge of the red zone, so they were about 20 yards out here. And Carrera, she was diming it up. She was rifling in some of these passes. All the passes she threw in this first half were very accurate, in my opinion. But they were passes that were in one-on-one. They're picking out players and trying to get the receivers to, hey, go make a play in one-on-one against these defenders. And if they can't stop you, they can't stop you. And this is where this Kansas Wesleyan defense really stood up and said no and won these one-on-one matchups. Alexa Mansour, she had a very good deflection on fourth down against Jaslyn Camacho, who, if you remember, had a hat trick literally against Midland earlier today. And so she came up with a big stop there. I want to say Jada Wilson and Angel Roman both came up with big stops in one-on-one there. And so this defense was balling out. They were doing a really good job here defensively just to win these one-on-one matchups. And even if you look down the line in this game, in these touchdowns that were scored here, I'm looking at this one on the one right before half here. It was basically second down here, and Carrera threads that needle to Jaslyn Camacho on the sideline. That was the play that DB could have beat, if she was positioned right. In my opinion, she just took a really bad angle. I don't know why. I think she was trying to undercut it, and it just didn't turn out well because she was trying to play the ball, and she should have played the receiver. If she played Camacho, then that ball would have been knocked down, and it probably still would have been 13-0 going into halftime. And then just looking down the line as well, going into the third and fourth, I mean, a lot of these touchdowns are just touchdowns in one-on-one. This Bailey Hodgins touchdown, it was literally just a 9 route called in one-on-one, and she had a step on her receiver. It was a perfect throw by Carrera to just put it right over her shoulder, and the DB was just caught just slightly off, a step off. And so, this Kansas Wesleyan team, they trusted their athletes to make plays in one-on-one. No help from the safety. It wasn't zone, it was one-on-one coverage. And for the most part, they did a good job. But honestly, it was just the offense. Offensively, and it wasn't just Brianna Hernandez-Silva because she still went 22 of 34 for 153 passing yards, a touchdown. And, she only had 8 rushing yards. But still, though, it was probably a team effort on offense why they struggled. And here's a stat I want to throw out to you for this whole game. So Kansas Wesleyan and Kodey, they had 10 offensive drives. I'm going to go ahead and throw out the one of these drives because it was right before halftime. They had 10 seconds left. They took a knee or whatever, right? So it didn't matter. So really 9 offensive drives. Out of these 9 offensive drives, only one of those drives went for more than 5 plays.
Dear God.
So, not turnovers. Well, yeah, not turnovers because Silva didn't throw an interception. It's just them not being able to convert on fourth down, not being able to extend these drives, finding themselves in third and long situations because you either can't snap the ball or you have a false start, which shouldn't be happening at all at this point in the season, to be honest with you.
Not at all.
It's self-inflicted wounds for the most part. So not even turnovers, And so that's probably where this loss hurts the most, knowing that we didn't even turn over the ball if you take out fourth down conversions and whatnot, and we still lost 34-7. We scored a touchdown in garbage time, basically, which really didn't matter at all outside of pride, So, and that was the one drive that lasted more than 5 plays. That was a 10-play drive. And so I want to make sure Ottawa gets their due. Obviously they did a good job flag pulling and
suffocating defense.
Yeah, just putting
their
them in.
Their pass rush was insane this game.
Yeah, no, their pass rush was doing a good job. Shout out to Hannah Strickwana and Alyssa Gillespie. They were doing a good job putting them in some of these situations. But there are also at least half of these drives were situations that Kansas Wesleyan put themselves in. And, when you're playing defense and the opposing offense is putting themselves in situations that you want to put them in, usually that's never a bad thing. It makes playing defense for you that much easier. And so you can't be fighting yourselves, making these just mental mistakes, honestly, on offense. Defensively, they played a real good game for the most part here. But there's only so many, one-on-one, 4-down situations that you could win before, hey, we're still down by 3 scores, even though we're, doing all these things, or 2 scores or whatever, So it's, sorry. I just went on a whole rant there. But what did you think about all of that? I mean, I guess it's just this game in whole, 9 drives and only one of those went for 5 plays. And that was the last one in the fourth quarter. That's pretty tough. Not gonna lie.
So, I mean, I feel like the first half is a good kind of reflection of this entire game, with the mental mistakes, and as much as the KWU defense wants to battle, I mean, there's only so much you can do. And I mean, Ottawa, they're just very talented. They're very well coached, and ultimately that was enough to win this game today. I mean, look, to end this half, I mean, it's one thing for Camacho to get open with under 30 seconds left, but I mean, Ottawa was blocking the crap out of this KWU pass rush. And that wasn't just on this drive, that was throughout this game. I mean, like I was saying, Addison Osborne, she is invaluable to this Ottawa offense with her ability to shadow block very well. What, Simon?
It's Addison Osborne, not Osborne.
Osborne, my bad.
Yeah,
I even have that typed down. But anyways, Addison Osborne here, with her ability to shadow block and the footwork that she has. And, she doesn't backpedal when she shadow blocks. She comes right up to you, and I can tell that defenders get, mad about how they're getting blocked by her. And then, if nothing's open, she can just spin out and catch a pass and pick up 10 to 15 yards pretty easily, just with her speed and athleticism. So she's a great addition to this offense. But, I mean, a lot of the time it's not necessary because, I mean, look, if you're blocking a pass rusher for 4 seconds for Carrera, she's more than likely going to find the open person and throw an absolute dime. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what she did throughout this game. And KWU, on top of, maybe some mental mistakes they were making on offense, they were just unlucky this game too. I mean, I know that Ottawa doesn't score off of this, but I don't think I've ever seen a punt that's bounced back for a -1 net punt. Seriously, they punted it, and I'm pretty sure they were punting into the wind, I want to say. And, while the wind did kind of hinder it, it was the bounce back. Oh my gosh, I've never seen a punt bounce back so hard. And it was a -1 net punt. And that's just unlucky. I mean, granted, their defense stepped up here and didn't allow Ottawa to score, but when your day's going like that, that's like a Charlie Brown moment where you're just, oh my, are you kidding me? How unlucky do we have to be today? And combine that with just the phenomenal game plan and coaching on Ottawa's side and the talent. I mean, look, Carrera's touchdown throw to Hodgins, that is into heavy wind. It's a perfect throw in one-on-one coverage in a place where only her receiver can make this catch. That should strike fear into all competitors. That play is what has me on this Ottawa high. I mean, obviously, they won the KCAC for a plethora of reasons. And, with their backup quarterback in, you could tell that this Ottawa team has so many athletes who can go up and make plays and make great grabs and whatnot. But with Carrera in this lineup, I am very high on Ottawa heading into nationals. They're just so talented at a lot of positions, and they're very well coached, and they're mentally tough. And I think that those losses earlier in the season, I think that helped this Ottawa team become a better squad. And I'm very excited for Nationals and this Ottawa squad heading into them.
Yeah, no, absolutely agreed. By the way, Ottawa's your conference champions, by the way, for the second straight year.
Congratulations, Braves.
There you go, yeah. I'm feeling them too. Look, they lost to Thomas, then they got blown out by Weber, which is wild looking back now. But, those are losses that were necessary. You don't want to ever get complacent here. There's probably a little bit of a feeling, between last year's national championship and then going, running through your conference schedule and then going back to Florida. There was probably a little bit of a feeling of overconfidence, especially after you beat Warner the way you did as well, but you needed to be humble just a little bit. And now you get your shot again in the national championship. And not only this, you're defending your title. Don't forget that, ain't nobody else is the 2022 national champions yet. Thomas, they've had some good dubs. Congrats to them. They've done their thing. But at the end of the day, they haven't won a national championship like you have. And so, that's the kind of confidence you got to be carrying into this thing, man. You got to prove a point. There is no tomorrow after this. And that goes for all of these KCAC teams going into the tournament, man. I mean, look, there is no tomorrow. You can't be having some of these mental mistakes. You're going to literally be playing in the, actually, I want to say, so once, after pool play, I'm sure, you're going to be playing in a dome, the Falcons dome, by the way. So, can't be talking about win or anything like that. In my opinion, I feel like the KCAC has dealt with more weather stuff than arguably the Sun Conference. Sun Conference, you have rain and stuff, but that's a little different, though. You could still kind of pass through it, but, just going into this tournament, I just got to be ready to play. Got to be ready to compete. You have the film from earlier on. Some of these teams that did go down to Florida, you have the film from earlier on in the season. That should be valuable. Study the heck out of that. And then, hey, watch the Sun Conference tournament this Saturday as well, because there's going to be some fireworks for sure. But, yeah. So there you go there. That's our reactions to the KCAC tournament here. In a minute, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about the KCAC. We're going to actually react to the all-conference selections and some of the awards given out here for this 2022 season. So we're going to react to that, then we'll talk about the Sun Conference. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. We here are going to go ahead and react to the 2022 KCAC Women's Flag Football All-Conference selections here. Awards were also given out as well. This was right before their tournament play, so just keep that in mind. And these were announced last week. And so before I talk about the offensive teams, I do want to read out some of these awards. So Liz Sowers, Ottawa's head coach, did win the 2022 KCAC Women's Flag Football Coach of the Year. By the way, this is voted on by, her peers as well, so other head coaches, as well as I want to say most of these, all of these selections. So, coaches are voting on these. Just keep that in mind. But, so Sowers, she wins head coach of the year. Congrats to her. And then Madison Carrera of Ottawa and Brianna Hernandez-Silva of Kansas Wesleyan, both quarterbacks, were named co-players of the year. Both threw for over 1,200 yards, 20-plus passing touchdowns, and ran for 500-plus rushing yards. True dual threats out here. And then Defensive Player of the Year went to Abby Brown of Ottawa. She just did it all. Had 56 total tackles, 9 sacks, 3 picks, 12 pass deflections at linebacker. So there you go. Congrats to those award winners. Let's go ahead and talk about these first team and second team offensive, all conference selections here. So let's start with first team offense here. At quarterback, we have Brianna Hernandez-Silva of Kansas Wesleyan. At running back, we have Kendra Velasquez-Monroe. At receiver, we have Angel Roman, the freshman. We have a couple receiver spots here. We have Alyssa Linkus and Clara Bodaway of Ottawa University. And then we also have Jasmine Camacho of Ottawa University. That one was kind of near the bottom here. Then the last receiver to make first team all conference was Caroline Simpson of the University of St. Mary. And then screen blocker, that went to Addie Orsburn of Ottawa University. And then center, first team all center was Maya Plotz of the University of St. Mary's. So there you go. That's first team offense. Second team offense, at quarterback, Madison Carrera of Ottawa. At running back, Addison Orsburn. I don't know why they put her at, that's a little weird, at screen blocker and then at running back for second team, but whatever. Addison Orsburn at running back, second team out of Ottawa. You have Jada Wilson at receiver from Kansas Wesleyan. You have Alyssa Hollis, receiver out of Cottey College. You have Jerica Johnson, receiver out of the University of St. Mary. You have Michaela Nunez, a receiver out of Midland University. And then at screen blocker for second team here, we have Taylor Jordan from Cottey College. And then at center, we have Kaylin Dawson from Kansas Wesleyan University. So there you go. That's your first team and second team offenses here. There is an honorable mention offense, but we're going to talk honorable mentions at the end here. Kodey, what's your reaction to this or to these selections here?
I don't disagree with really any of them, other than my knee. It's interesting, like you said, that they had Orsburn at running back and screen blocker, when I almost feel like maybe she could be first team running back because she's good at running the football and catching the football and blocking, like an all around, in standard terms, you'd say like a 3-down back, but I'm not too pressed about it. She's like, I talked about her talent in the last segment in that, Kansas Wesleyan KCAC championship game on how important she is to this Ottawa team. So I'm glad that she has a first team selection. And I'm not terribly surprised here. Other than maybe not, no, I'm not terribly surprised here, honestly. All of it kind of checks out, and every single one of these players. First off, congratulations for making these teams and whatnot. And some of these players, I feel like they might be better on defense, but defense is kind of a loaded position here in the KCAC, especially between Ottawa and Kansas Wesleyan. Look, Abby Brown, she had I want to say 20 more flag pulls than the next closest player on her team. And, she just put together an incredible season with the 16 pass breakups. That was double anybody else on her team. So while, the stats are, they're good, obviously, but being able to perform well on your team and thus impact it into wins is some of the most important stuff you could do. And that's why you have the players here that you have. When I initially read it, Simon, you recall this, I was like, that's interesting that Hernandez Silva here caps the first team quarterback and Carrera caps the second team quarterback. However, the fact that they're both co-offensive player of the years, I feel like just makes it make a little bit more sense. And while Ottawa could afford to, play other people passing the ball and also find, some success, I mean, Sydney, is it Rude? Is that how you say it? I want to say. Yeah. She still had an incredible season, throwing 10 touchdowns to 1 pick, right? So even with Madison's incredible, insane MVP-like performance this year, I can see kind of how the committee's like, well, look at, one quarterback to the next and see that, there's not as much of a drop-off versus, how many games does this KWU team win without Hernandez Silva? And having watched a handful of KWU games this year, she is responsible for a lot of plays. And once you can find a way to bottle her up, then, this KWU offense starts to kind of struggle a little bit versus, if you can find a way to bottle up Madison Carrera, there's ways to get the ball into the hands of playmakers to get upfield, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I can't talk here, sorry. I'll kind of just be honest here. Brianna Hernandez-Silva and Madison Carrera are probably interchangeable to me. One could be first team, one could be second team. Either way, they're both top 2 in the conference, and I think that's undisputable, but both of them, had excellent seasons here. I could see why Silva was voted to first team here, but like I said, in my opinion, they're interchangeable. One could be on first team, one could be on second team. It really doesn't matter. They're both 1A and 1B. So, and I'm not going to say who is who because it doesn't matter. So yeah, I think, honestly, nothing too crazy here. I think it's interesting that, like you said, Addie Osborne was listed at 2 spots. I don't know what that was about, but it is what it is. I think Addie Osborne probably, and this isn't anything against Kendra Velasquez-Monroe, but I think Addie Osborne is probably a first-team running back. At least I would call her that. As they have handed her the ball, they've thrown her screens and stuff, and in certain situations she has ripped apart defenses that aren't really accounting for the running back to be that explosive and such a good athlete. And so I probably know her more for her ability to catch the ball and get those key yards before those big plays. So I probably would have voted her first team running back, but that's just me. So yeah.
When you look at it too, I feel like there's a fairly sizable gap here because Velasquez Monroe, she got like 153 yards on 20 rushes and a score with 9 catches for 38. Meanwhile, in Osborne land, rushing the ball, she picked up 105 and 3 touchdowns, but then also catching the ball, she caught for like 500 yards and 7 scores. So versatility is something to know at maybe the running back position, but maybe it's more on just the straight up attempts and yards per carry or something. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, no, sure. So there you go. Also, I'm just looking at the hometowns because they're also listed here. I love just the diversity here because you already know when we go to the Sun Conference, everyone's going to be from Florida, except for Adriana Cavallati, which I think is the only non-Florida player that comes to mind because she's from New York. She played with SIG, so that's how I know her name. But just looking at these hometowns, Brianna Hernandez-Silva, Las Vegas,
Montreal, Canada.
Yeah, one of our lone Canadians in college football in general, Clara Bodaway, from Montreal. That's big. Caroline Simpson, being from Denton, Texas, that's big time. I believe, hold up. I want to say she's the first. No, she's not. She's not the first Texas player to make a first team all conference team. That actually goes to her teammate Jerica Johnson, who's from Dallas. So there you go. 2 Texas players on these offensive lists here. You love to see that. Also, Addie Osborne from Round Rock, Texas, as well. That just kind of shows how much this game is growing and whatnot. So a big shout out to some of these hometowns here. And then obviously Florida is still, they're still representing. Madison Carrera from Riverview, Florida. Jada Wilson from Crawfordville, Florida. Just to name a few there. So yeah, just wanted to say that. But don't think I have anything more to say about these first and second team offenses. Kodey, do you have anything more, or do you want to go ahead and talk about these all conference defenses here?
It's just interesting, speaking on that diversity a little bit, to see an Arkansas player here in Taylor Jordan for Cottey College, the second team screen blocker here. But obviously it's very exciting to see all of these players here because, you have majority freshman and sophomore here. So, these are names that you could see over and over again, or maybe this is the only time that you get to see some of these young guns cap some of these awards so early. But a special shout out to seniors, like Clara for Ottawa, and Jerica Johnson out of, St. Mary's. And I want to say Brianna Hernandez Silva. It says junior here, but
she's a senior.
Yeah, but she's a senior. So a special shout out to the seniors who did make these lists. That's big time to do in your senior year. But I think we're ready to talk about defense here. And are we including utility here as well?
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and include a utility / special teams here. Let's do that.
Because it's only like 2 or 3 players for first and second team. So, anyways, here on the first team defense at rusher here to start us off. I'm just going to read it from top to bottom. We have Hannah Circana. She's out of Ottawa. Then you have Casey Thompson out of Midland at linebacker. Abby Brown, obviously, being Defensive Player of the Year, you end up getting on first team defense more than likely here, out of Ottawa. Then you have Lexi Marquez out of Kansas Wesleyan. Alyssa Gillespie, I don't know how to read anymore, out of Ottawa, who is at linebacker, but also does a really good job of rushing the passer as well. Angel Roman, yep, that is a name that you just heard, and you heard it back to back here because she's just an incredible athlete here out of Kansas Wesleyan. Jerica Johnson out of University of St. Mary. Nina Grave de Peralta out of Ottawa University, and Haley McKay out of Ottawa as well. So very Ottawa heavy on this first team. And then on the first team utility and punt team specialist, you have Michaela Nunez out of Midland, who is listed at utility. And then out of Cottey College, the second name that you're hearing here, and the only one on first team is Christella Jean-Just out of Cottey, as I said, for punt specialist. Then second team defense, you have Ashaya Smith out of St. Mary at rusher, and Sydney Red out of Midland, also at rusher. 2 Georgia players holding down the rushing spot actually here as freshmen on this second team defense. Then you have PMC fam, Alexa Menser. It's weird reading Alexandra, so that's Alexa to me, out of Kansas Wesleyan. Then Kenzie Murdoch, another PMC fam member here at the linebacker spot, second team. Then Brianna Beto out of Ottawa. Then you have Hernandez Silva once again here, but this time as a defensive back on the second team defense. Caroline Simpson once again here, being read, second team defense at defensive back out of St. Mary. Jennifer Anthony out of Ottawa University at defensive back, the senior. And then Jada Wilson once again here, but this time at defensive back. And then for second team utility and punt team specialist, Jerica Johnson at utility here, making second team. And then I want to say Maya Ploetz out of St. Mary here for Plots. Oh, it's just straight up. All right. Plots out of St. Mary here. And then Jaslyn Camacho out of Ottawa for punt specialist as well. So, Simon, initial reactions. This first team is overwhelmingly Ottawa and Kansas Wesleyan, which I am not very surprised at. But we get a lot of diversity and a lot of youth, I want to say, here on this second team more than anything else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Ottawa, they had the best defense in the KCAC, so there's no surprises here. It just felt like they had so many players that they could just plug in at different positions, whether it was rusher, linebacker, DB, and they're so versatile. That's kind of what makes them a little dangerous out here, when you're offense trying to read them, because they got players that they can move around, and so that's kind of something I really love about that defense over there. So no surprises that there were so many Ottawa players on a first and second team defense here. I do want to shout out Casey Thompson out of Midland. She had an excellent year. Midland may have not had a great year, to be honest with you, but Casey Thompson being the lone senior, I've heard a lot of things about her leadership and whatnot, and just her just being a really big, just core and just pillar of not only that, defense, but of that program over at Midland. Because she also does her thing on offense as well. And so Casey Thompson, man, she got it done at linebacker for Midland and will probably go down as one of the early legends for this Midland team here, because she killed it, whether it's getting interceptions, getting sacks, getting tackles, she got it done. And she's the only player from Nebraska on all of these all conference selections list. Like, there's no other player from Nebraska, I believe, on these lists, or at least on first and second team. And so, and she's also a senior, so big shout out to her for holding it down for Nebraska over there. I know, they're growing women's flag football over there. There's a couple of leagues specifically in that Omaha area, which is where she's from, that are, on the come up here. So just be on the lookout for that. So big shout out to her. That's big time. Angel Roman, killing it. At this point, I think she's definitely locked in for Final Four when it comes to Freshman of the Year. It's hard to argue against that. I'm just going to be real with you there. So yeah, and then just looking at second team here, shout out to that PMC fam, Alexa Mansur and Kenzie Murdoch. I mean, look, to start as freshmen, and both of these freshmen were captains of their team as well, by the way. So just big shout out to them. I mean, we knew what they were about, We knew the leadership they had. We interviewed Kenzie. We've known about Alexa. We've obviously talked before and whatnot. And so, we have a bunch of love for them. They did their thing. They led their teams, not only defensively, but, just on the field in general, and off the field as well. And so, just big shout out to them. I'm super proud of them for doing what they do. And, I don't have too much here. Oh, and then shout out to those Georgia players, Ashaya Smith, Sydney Red. Sydney Red, she had a couple really good games as a rusher for Midland. Ashaya Smith, she had some good, moments for St. Mary's, especially down this stretch on defense. But I also want to shout her out just briefly on offense as well. I think they found their starting running back, which is not something you say every day. And so that's a good deal for St. Mary to have a player like that that's returning. That's only a freshman, So yeah, but congrats to all these first and second team defensive players. Kodey, what do you think about these two teams here? Oh, and then shout out obviously to the special teams as well. It wasn't super surprising. I kind of figured that each of these players would get on here for special teams.
Well, I want to echo everything you said. Casey Thompson, I mean, just from that play in, the biggest stage that Midland has got to play to up into this point in the year, I mean, if that's not a great reflection of just her overall ability, then, I don't know what else to tell you. But also being from Nebraska and getting to play for a Nebraska school and be a part of, this historical moment, big deal. And like you said, also talented on offense, but very good to see, her instincts and linebacker capabilities make this first team defense here. I will say I'm a little confused here, Simon, on how senior defensive back Jennifer Anthony doesn't make first team here.
I am too, because I think and this is just my, non-biased opinion. I'm not like an Ottawa super fan or anything. But personally, I think she's a better DB than Graveka Peralta and McKay. No, nothing against them. They did their thing. But
I mean, she recorded more interceptions.
Yes.
She had as many pass breakups as they had combined. Okay. And I'm not saying this in the disrespectful way. I'm saying this in the she played incredible. She had that huge pass breakup in that Midland game. It was an incredible break on the ball. She's an athletic freak. She can match up against dang near anyone in the country. And she put up the numbers to back it up. And yet, and I feel like she drew wide receiver one responsibilities like all year too.
Yeah, so, I was just about to say that. I saw her matched up because I watched all the Ottawa games, by the way. I've seen every Ottawa game. And I feel like she's been matched up one-on-one with opposing teams' wide-out ones. So that's interesting. I don't know what's going on there.
Maybe, I had to read it twice because I was like, wait, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe there's a little bit of Nevada bias there. But I don't know. I mean, it is what it is.
They're holding the Arkansasians down. I don't know.
What'd you say?
I said they're holding the Arkansasians down. I don't know.
I am not going to comment on that because
I don't know what you're called from Arkansas, so if it's not an Arkansanian, just ignore it. But you know what I mean.
Right. But anyways, yeah, no, for sure. Okay, that is definitely a little bit of a surprise there.
That may be the biggest.
Oh.
I think that might be the biggest slip up on either of these teams, if I have to be 100% honest.
But it's the difference between first team and second team. You know,
I know.
Probably interchange some of these DBs as well, because Caroline Simpson did a really good job at DB as well. Like,
I thought she was a better DB than wide receiver this year, honestly.
Well, yeah, she put up more stats at DB than wide receiver, but you know. It is what it is. You know, I think at the DB position, you definitely have a couple players that are a little interchangeable here. Jada Wilson is a really good DB.
Oh,
she can
absolutely.
help some big plays, you know, so it's not like it's like bad company to be on second team defense. But, you know, definitely a couple names here that are a little interchangeable. But like I said, it's the difference between first team and second team. They're still all conference, you know.
Yeah. Oh, also, I wanted to take this moment to shout out Jada Wilson. You know, while she did make second team on both offense and defense, you know, if there was like all around, you know, kind of thing, like if they had to build like a both ways team, then, I mean, Jada Wilson, she definitely finds her way on that team because, I mean, she's just an incredible athlete who I think has a lot of potential and just has really big strides and top level speed that I think is only going to get faster as the years go on and as her, you know, as she improves for this KWU squad. She's somebody who I think has a lot of potential to be a regular on the first team of either side of the ball heading forward. Yeah, just an incredible athlete. So I wanted to shout out Jada Wilson there for sure. And then once again, just shout out to the seniors who did make these lists, you know. Shout out to Casey Thompson, like you said. Shout out to Jerica Johnson, who, I mean, if for her last game in KCAC competition, she played lights out. So she left everything on the field there and, you know, left a great impression. Shout out to Christella out of Cottey, you know, for being the first team representative of Cottey in general, and of course Jennifer Anthony on this second team defense as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop into honorable mentions. I could go ahead and talk about honorable mentions on offense versus honorable mention team here. So let me go ahead and go down the line. Right here at quarterback, we have Cheyenne Galbraith from the University of St. Mary. At running back, we have Midland's Sade Irving. We have Marissa Rubino at wide receiver for Kansas Wesleyan. At the other wide receiver spot, we have Angelina Cruz from Cottey. We have Ashlyn Tuss, wide receiver out of the University of St. Mary. We have Allison Malfair, wide receiver from Midland. We have Bailey Hodgins, wide receiver out of Ottawa. We have Kui Wailai, wide receiver out of Kansas Wesleyan University. We have Daniela Goodrich, wide receiver out of Cottey College. And then at screen blocker, we have two here. We have Alexis Jimenez from Kansas Wesleyan University. And then we have Ellie Campbell from the University of St. Mary. And then at center, we have Courtney Willie from Ottawa University. And then we have Cassandra Chavez from Midland University taking up the last center spot here. So there you go there. Cody, why don't you go ahead and say the honorable mentions for defense and special teams, then we'll react to this as a whole.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. So moving here to defense, we're going to start off right off the bat with three Kansas Wesleyan players. Well, actually two Kansas Wesleyan players, but two different positions. For Kendra Velasquez Monroe, she got honorable mention at linebacker as well as rusher. And then Alexis Jimenez here is, you know, an honorable mention at the linebacker spot. Then continuing down, you have Alyssa Gillespie. Oh my goodness, I don't know why that's giving me such a struggle here. As a rusher, I mentioned it when, you know, reading out her name earlier for the defensive squad. Then Ashlyn Tuss out of University of St. Mary as a defensive back. Cheyenne Durand at Midland University as a defensive back. Honorable mention, Farron Malif, out of Ottawa at defensive back, and then Daniela Goodridge out of Cottey College at honorable mention for defensive back. So another Cottey player here. And then for utility and punt team specialist, Hernandez Silva and Angel Roman both get, utility honorable mention here. Nadiah Simpson gets utility out of Midland. Dare Stellas out of St. Mary gets Stellas?
Yeah, Dyer.
Oh, Dyer Stellas out of St. Mary here gets utility. And then Courtney Dinkle wraps up this list out of Greeley, Colorado for Kansas Wesleyan at punt team specialist.
Shout out Northridge High School.
Yes, sir.
Shout out my boy Garza too. So yeah, there you go. So let's just react to this here. I think first off, gotta shout out Daniela Goodridge being the first player from Panama to make an all conference team here. The only player from Panama in all of college football, or women's college football here, So that's pretty big. I know a couple more Panama players will be coming over to Cottey, actually, from that national team. If you remember at the Pro Bowl, that Panama national flag football team, they beat Texas Fury. And so a lot of those players, they're recruitable, and they're teams that want those Panama players. And so Cottey, they'll be getting a good amount of those players coming in. And so Daniela Goodridge is kind of just the first of many. And so, love to see a pioneer right there, making, honorable mention offense and defense. Defensively, she probably had a little bit of an argument to at least make second team. But, when defense is, when you're playing both ways, it's easy to get fatigued, and the score probably doesn't reflect that. So yeah, there you go. Kodey, is there anyone else that you want to talk about here?
Well, I just want to say here, Galbraith was the obvious choice for honorable mention quarterback, and this is going to look very different next year. Galbraith being a senior, Hernandez Silva being a senior, other than Carrera.
Silva will be there.
Do what?
Silva is going to graduate, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So
like
what I'm, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
You
made it sound like they're coming back next year as a senior.
No. I'm saying it's going to be very different next year because, two quarterbacks who made these all teams, you know what I mean, will not be there. And other than Carrera, who's coming back, there's going to be space to prove yourself here in the KCAC, and who's going to step up. So I'm issuing that challenge to either incoming quarterbacks or returning quarterbacks here in the KCAC, and just issuing that challenge here to make these teams, because it's, even with these quarterbacks not returning, it's not going to be any easier, I don't think, to make some of these all teams, especially as this flag football grows on the NAIA level. But anyways, continuing on, Sade Irvin here out of Midland,
Sade Irvin.
Sade Irvin.
Sade.
I am so sorry. Irvin. I just heard Irvin all game when I was watching the game. So, or Turbo here. She is on my watch list to make a first team during her time. She's incredibly athletic, has insane footwork, and, does a great job of evading flagpoles. And I think that, maybe more chemistry is built with this Midland squad that is fairly young, I will say, on the offensive side of the ball. And maybe as time goes on and, things like that and a rhythm gets developed, Turbo here can very easily make a first team in her time at Midland. I think athletically speaking, I don't think that's a crazy take to have. Furthermore here, it's also good to see Campbell here make it at honorable mention as a screen blocker, because whenever St. Mary had 2 blockers, I think that's when Galbraith played her best. And so, you got to give a shout out to both of them for making that possible. And, creating, which is pretty uncommon in flag, creating a pocket really for her to work out of, which she looked most comfortable maneuvering, rather than like rollouts that you see more often or anything like that. So good to see, people who create that pocket getting in here, especially, I'd say that they made some pretty solid pockets against the KWU squad that has some good rushers as well, like the likes of Velasquez, Monroe, and whatnot. So, shout out to the screen blockers there that I wanted to put some respect on. And, once you get to honorable mentions, this list is a little bit bigger. So outside of, the quarterback and running back position that take one, if you put up respectable numbers here, you'll find yourself on these lists here. And you'll see that these lists in particular are also, all the lists are young in a lot of ways, but this is a good kind of watch list for people to look at next year and kind of where the programs might head talent-wise if they have graduating talent.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because there's definitely a lot of players to look out here for. Ashlyn Tuss out of the University of St. Mary. She made offense and defense. Yep.
Yeah, she did, honorable mention.
Yeah, and she was a deployed candidate here. She is, but she definitely picked it up more on offense here in the last couple weeks, taking on pretty big load as that wideout 1, wideout 2. You could switch them out, and so she did her thing there. So I just want to give her a shout out. Just a big part of that St. Mary passing attack. And then Kuli Wailai out of Kansas Wesleyan. A little surprised she didn't make a first or second team. She was ripping apart offenses for a good, it felt like 2 or 3 week stretch, just going crazy out there. It felt like she was unguardable at times. And so want to give her a shout out because she's probably somebody that will make a first or second team later here in the coming years. Bailey Hodgins is another one of those players from Canton, Georgia, by the way. But she plays receiver, and she was great at it. There were times she looked like a wideout 1, and she would take out defenses on her own. But also she does play quarterback as well. And so, I think she's more of that emergency quarterback role because it goes Carrera, Rude, and then probably Bailey hereafter. So yeah. But,
that's not a bad problem to have. And Bailey had that incredible snag in the championship game. The one that should strike fear into national competitors' hearts. That throw, that's going to be on replay in my head, and that catch for probably the next week or two.
Yeah, no, for sure. So there's a lot of talent here, a lot of talent here in the KCAC. I know people, and, part of it is because, we said this at the beginning of the season, but I know people say that, the Sun Conference, it's like the SEC, best conference right now. I would probably agree. The Sun Conference is the best talent for women's flag football for now, but, you have players here that are getting opportunities early on here. And, in the Sun Conference, you're just not going to see that because you have significantly more veterans, I would say. A lot more players who aren't underclassmen, they're upperclassmen or have been playing this game for a very, very long time. And so, coming to the KCAC, there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities to start, to learn, especially, and it's going to show here in the next coming years as I feel like the KCAC might pull a little bit closer to the Sun Conference outside of Ottawa. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, but boom, there you go. That is the KCAC All Conference teams right there. We at the Playmakers Corner, we're going to make our own list. It'll be a national list. It'll just be an all Playmaker list. And so we'll have, probably just a first team and, just a first team offense and defense, I would say, since it'll be nationally. And that'll just be our opinion. Like, it won't be voted on by anybody else, probably outside of us. And so we'll release that after the season, as an after nationals, most likely, just to recognize the truly, the best of the best in the entire country there. So I just wanted to say that. But you know what? We could continue to keep this thing going, Kodey, if you're good with it. But you want to go ahead and talk about this Sun Conference tournament real quick here?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. So it's going to be a lot shorter than the KCAC tournament because there's only 4 teams. They take the top 4 teams. And so here are the matchups. It's going to take place in or at Thomas University, so in Georgia at Thomasville. And so here, let me find it here. Or nope, never mind. I can't find it. Never mind. So basically, here's how it goes. Thomas, they're the 1 seed. Kaiser is the 2 seed, I want to say here. Yep, Kaiser's the 2 seed. Then you have St. Thomas, they're the 3 seed. And then Warner is the 4 seed here. Under their first-year head coach, by the way. So congrats to them. That's pretty big time for them. So there you go there. And so how it's going to work, you have these quarterfinal, semifinal games, whatever you want to call them. Thomas University, they're going to face off with Warner, the 4 seed. And then Kaiser, they're going to play St. Thomas. And then obviously the winner of that plays for the Sun Conference Championship. So let's talk about this first matchup here. We have Thomas versus Warner here. Obviously, the last time they met up wasn't too long ago. It was on 4/20, April 20th, and it was a wild one where Warner University, they came back, and they had a lead over Thomas here. They were leading something like 26 to not 26. They were leading like 20 to like 14 or something like that, 20 to 13 or something like that, going into the last 2 minutes here. And then Thomas basically scored 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes to win 26-20 in an absolute thriller and banger and classic of a game here. And so the rematch comes up here in this Sun Conference tournament. Also, if you want to go before then as well, they met up one other time, and Thomas just beat Warner by only 14 to 0. I believe it was at that Tampa Bay Classic thing that the Buccaneers were hosting. And so all close matchups, both times. And so going into this matchup here, Thomas, obviously, they have home field advantage. The crowd should be going, hopefully here in Georgia and whatnot. If you can go, you should go and whatnot. And so it'll be this is definitely a game where I would say Thomas is favored. Obviously, they've won both times, and then they're at home, and they're the 1 seed, boasting that number 1 defense in the entire country at the moment. Kodey, what do you think about this game? What do you think about this game? What are some things to look out for here?
Well, okay, Thomas is the obvious favorite here, right? They're playing at home. They've beat Warner twice already this season. But, and there's the but, right? Don't count your chickens before they hatch, because this Warner team, look at what they did to Weber International this last week. Weber is a good football team, okay? I know that they're not in the Sun Conference. They stumbled out of the gate, and then, they didn't really close out here at the end to make it, right? So, but this Weber team is talented, and Warner just kicked the snot out of them this past week. And I think it's because they're PO'd, They're tired of getting pushed over by these other teams in the Sun Conference. And even though they have the lowest seed, I think you said it better than anyone that, a lot of these Sun Conference teams could win nationals at that stage. And I think that any 4 of these Sun Conference teams can win the Sun Conference tournament. And, Warner, I think that they're a very dangerous 4 seed. I think that, obviously they had that lead against Thomas. And, Thomas scored an improbable 2 touchdowns in the last, 3 minutes of the game, I want to say. And won this game in Warner. They got to be kicking themselves in the butt for it. But, that game was in Georgia, that last game that they played. So I think Warner's familiar with the environment, and I'm not going to call upset because I'm too tired of being wrong throughout this season, but I will say I won't be entirely surprised if it does happen. Is that fair? If Warner plays spoiler?
Yeah, I mean, look, all these games are going to be close. To assume that one team is so much better than the other, at least in the Sun Conference, is just not, it's just not smart. This Warner team's talented. They're young, though. That's the thing about them. They're very young. This is a team that, has gelled and grown together throughout this season. By the way, they are going to move up in the power rankings. So we'll talk about that after this. But, this is a team that has continued to grow together throughout the season. Defensively, they can lock up. They could definitely lock up. They have the athletes to do it. So, and this is against a Thomas offense that, has been a little up and down. A little up and down. They've only scored, more than 3 touchdowns a handful of times. And this last month is kind of tough here. You had a 7-6 dub over Florida Memorial, a 7-0 dub against Weber. You beat Kaiser 19-18. That one was kind of wild. You had a last-second drive there. Beat St. Thomas 13-0. So it's not like, this Thomas offense, is that much better than Warner. They are good. They have a couple ways of, using up that clock and getting yards, no doubt about it. But Warner, they could get it going too, and I think it starts with Madison Tingen and Cynthia Holmes out here. Here's the thing, they're going to go to Cynthia Holmes. So if you're Thomas, you let Warner beat you with anybody but Cynthia Holmes here, because she was basically the reason why Warner was able to pull, why they were able to get the lead, because she scored all their touchdowns in this game. And she's just that kind of player. She's super talented. She's someone that, if you're Thomas, hey, go ahead and remove her from the game and then let Warner beat you with other receivers. And most likely, it will be one-on-one with those other receivers. And when it comes to Thomas here, they have just so many athletes that could go one-on-one. Sanaya Glover, she is an excellent corner for them, excellent DB. You also have Janae Scott at linebacker. Brittany Delva is at linebacker as well. Both probably top linebackers in the entire country. You have their pass rusher as well, and Jada Reese, who is going to make Madison Tingen, move around a little bit. She's going to make her uncomfortable. And so, if you're Warner, you got to be ready to, combat that. You got to have options outside of Cynthia Holmes. And, if you're Thomas, I think you take that bet and make them beat you without Cynthia Holmes, because they haven't done that too much this year so far. So there you go. But this one's going to be a close one. They're going to battle for sure. There's no doubt about it. This will be a close game regardless.
Yes. Sorry, I was struggling with my mute button, kind of like the stream a couple weeks ago. But anyways, yeah, no, this is going to be a really close game. And, Thomas, they know how to beat Warner. They've done it twice. But this big blowout that they put on Weber here, I definitely think that, Thomas here, this is their first Sun Conference tournament appearance, being that it's their first year as a program. And their coaching staff has held it down all year. But, we haven't seen them in a postseason-esque format, right? And there are, coaches historically. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be Thomas's case, but, the postseason is a place where they can slip up. And, every team is hungry. They want to prove Thomas wrong here. They want to topple the number 1 seed in our power rankings. And, they have a giant target on their back. So we'll see what happens here with this upcoming game. But either way, just hoping for a good one. If it's any kind of classic like the last one is, that's a win for us, the fans. So,
well, also you got to throw this out there as well, Cody. Warner, this is their first time in a Sun Conference tournament as well. Under first off, this first-year head coach, but last year
head coach, right.
Yep. And last year, they didn't even finish the season. to get to this point. Well, not that they were going to qualify for it anyways.
There are a lot of question marks last season, so two teams with a lot to prove here.
Yeah. So I feel like both of these teams are kind of on a even playing field, not having been here before, but obviously the pressure is definitely on Thomas. They're the 1 seed. They are expected to win here because obviously you don't want to lose your first game because then you're watching, 2 other teams play on your field, playing on your field for the rest of the day, which sucks, So obviously the pressure's on Thomas here. Warner here, they really don't have anything to lose. I'm going to be completely honest with you because I think most people don't expect them to win this one anyways. So that makes them that much more dangerous, and that's why it's going to be close. But altogether, I like this matchup because it's kind of an even matchup. I'm sure they didn't mean for it to fall this way, but it's good that these two teams that haven't had a whole lot of experience in the postseason go ahead and get that now before this next game, regardless of who wins before this next game going into the conference championship,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, but let's
we
talk
ready to
about
talk about the matchup. Yeah, you and I are on the same page. And
go ahead.
Something tells me that it's going to be different than maybe what we were treated to this past week. So this second matchup is going to be between Kaiser, 2 seed, and St. Thomas, the 3 seed here. And these teams actually just played even more recently than Warner and Thomas did. They played Saturday, April 23rd. And first off, shout out to Kaiser for this website. Oh my goodness. It looks so good. It's so intuitive. It's so informative. Thank you. But anyways, getting back on track here, Kaiser, following that scoreless first quarter, they kind of ran away with this game, and I think that they even put in their backup quarterback at some point, Haley Young, throughout this game. So, obviously not the showing that St. Thomas was really looking for, but this Kaiser defense is insane. They pitched a shutout. This is a very good St. Thomas squad, by the way. And, Kaiser here, they buckle down in the red zone like they always do. And, also forced an interception here. And overall, I think I don't think the game will go the same, but I have a really hard time not seeing Kaiser in my Sun Conference championship. Simon, how much does this most recent matchup mean to you between St. Thomas and Kaiser? And how much of a role do you think that this last game plays heading into this next one?
Look, this last matchup didn't matter. Kaiser was going to be the 2 seed regardless here, but even if you go before that, Kaiser played St. Thomas on March 10th earlier on this season, and they beat them pretty similarly. They beat them 19-0, and Kaiser was kind of riding a pretty nice wave here leading up to that point. Before that, they beat Florida Memorial 27-7. They blew out Midland 41-0. The infamous or famous Kennedy Foster catch happened in that game. Then they beat Warner University 27-12. On that same day, they beat Weber 20-13. And then that led to their game against St. Thomas, who they beat 19-0. Look, Kaiser's a good team. They are a motivated team for sure. Let's keep that real, for a second here. The only team that they've lost to all season is Thomas. They lost to them ironically in Thomasville, Georgia to start the season, 13-19. That definitely shook up the entire, women's flag football scene here. And then they had that rematch and another classic game right here, back at Kaiser, and they lost to Thomas 18-19. Thomas obviously putting together that last drive, partially in thanks to Shelby Hartley, after that really long lightning delay. And so Kaiser is going into this, and they're probably looking a little bit ahead here at Thomas, because they're going to be in Georgia, and they're saying like, there is no reason why we shouldn't be back in the conference championship to defend our title. And so nothing against St. Thomas, but I'm looking at Kaiser, and this obviously defensively Kaiser's very good, but offensively they could run with any team. If it gets into a shootout, they'll shoot. And they'll rely on you, making the first mistake, because offensively they just have so many weapons here. First off, it starts with Jasmine Roden, their senior quarterback, by the way, which is sad because she won't be here next year. But, she's done so much for this program. She has put up amazing numbers for this program as well. Once these Sun Conference, all conference teams come out, she'll probably be, an all conference quarterback, a first team quarterback, and so she is arguably the best quarterback in women's college football right now. You could throw in Madison Carrera if you want, but that's valid as well. But I think Jasmine Roden, as far as the passer goes, she's the type of passer that, she can make all the passes, and even when you get her out of the pocket and have her throwing off platform, she could still make all the passes. She could also run a little bit as well. So she's definitely a threat. You have a running back, Emma Wagaman, someone that she checks down too often. She's going to be a threat. She racks up a lot of yards, and she is somebody that's a little slippery. There's been a couple games that I've watched where she's made defenders fall down, or she's split defenders and slid through them on her way for a nice 10 or 15 yard gain that shouldn't be one. So she's a slippery running back to have back there. Then you have your receivers, Kennedy Foster, wideout one, probably the best receiver in the country right now, hands down. I don't think there's really too many other players close. She could run the short route. She could run deep, be your deep threat, and she could be your jump ball specialist as well. She is a legit wideout one. She's dangerous pretty much at any time. I'm going to be honest with you. Pretty much at any time, especially when the play is breaking down and it's just her and Roden, kind of just, playmaking. That is the worst. That's obviously one of the worst situations you could probably get yourself in, because that could either be a big, 60, 70 yard touchdown, or it could be a big chunk play at the very least, 20, 30 yards. There's no in between. And so she's a legit wideout one. You also have these freshman receivers and Chloe Griffin and Adriana Kaivelotti, who could both go crazy. Chloe Griffin, as of late, has had a couple 100-yard receiving games here, has came up with multiple big 30-plus yard splash plays. She could get that done. Adriana Kaivelotti, she kind of started the season out strong, and then, has kind of taken a little bit of a backseat as Chloe Griffin has gone crazy, but there's no doubt, if she's in one-on-one, she could definitely also win one-on-one jump ball situations, because she's kind of a taller receiver, and, scorch some defenses as well. And so offensively, and then, by the way, I'm going to throw this quarterback out there as well. Their backup quarterback, Haley Young, she could come in and give you a two-quarterback look, as Kaiser can run that look against you if they feel like, pass rushers are getting too much pressure and they need a little bit extra time. They'll run Haley Young out there, put her out at receiver, and then throw it to her, and then she'll throw it back to Roden and just play that back and forth, and then you're just playmaking from there. And so this is a team that is extremely deep on offense, and they should be averaging 30 points a game here in the postseason probably. And so St. Thomas, they're going to have their hands full for sure here. I don't want to count St. Thomas out though, because they do have some athletes, including DB Deshaun Washington. In my opinion, she's the best DB in the country right now. You have DJ Paris, Dejanice Paris out there, and then just so many more athletes who make up this great St. Thomas defense. I think the bigger question will be, how will the St. Thomas offense, battle against the Kaiser defense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes more sense, honestly, because, the St. Thomas offense, I feel, is the more inconsistent part of this team, right? You look at their schedule this year, you look at their overall 7-4. In those 4 losses, they lost 0-19, 0-13, mind you, 0-20, and 6-24. 6 points across those 4 losses is abysmal, okay? And, granted, when they win, they find ways to score points, but it is definitely the more inconsistent part of this, St. Thomas squad is their ability to score points. And, it is hard to beat a team 3 times in a season, talking from the Kaiser perspective, right? But when you've had such a chokehold on this offense and you're St. Thomas, you've got to wheel out some experimental things for this Sun Conference matchup for a chance. Because, I mean, look, you know if you're St. Thomas that you match up pretty well against Thomas University, having beat them in overtime, you know, at the beginning of this season, and, you know, having only lost 0-13 to them in your second matchup. You like your odds against, you know, whether it's Thomas or even Warner in the championship, having also beat Warner 13-12 and also, you know, well, initially lost that first game. But you have to get past Kaiser first. And Kaiser is the only team in this Sun Conference tournament who you have yet to beat. And it's from a complete lack of productivity on the offensive side of the ball is what it is. And, you know, even this Kaiser defense making plays, right? And I don't think it really matters if your defense goes play for play, like say Kaiser gets a pick and then your defense gets a pick. That doesn't matter if your offense doesn't also, you know, go point for point with this Kaiser offense, which it has yet to do this entire season.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely agreed. And it's not like St. Thomas doesn't have weapons over there. They have a lot of good receivers. Like I said, DJ Paris, you have Rihanna Baker, you have Tyler Bryant as well, who could tear it up, was tearing it up kind of here at the beginning of the season, but, you know, has had some up and down performances here. You know, that's not her fault. That's, I would say, mostly a quarterback thing. And so we'll see. You know, this St. Thomas offense, they need to step it up, you know, because I could almost guarantee that this defense will get you 2 or 3 turnovers. I think that's a very, you know, that's a very fair thing to say. Maybe not 2 or 3. Three might be a little much, but 2 turnovers, I think that's something they could definitely get you 2 picks, you know, if they're really battling out there. And then maybe a couple, you know, 4th down stops as well. But that doesn't mean anything if your offense can't get a first down or, you know, can't, you know, score. Because I think that's just the biggest thing that's going to matter here in this game. I mean, they've scored more than 3 touchdowns a handful of times. The last time was against Florida Memorial, 25-0. That was pretty big. You know, they had also dropped 25 on Weber. You know, that's pretty good too. You need to have one of those performances against Kaiser if you want to have a chance at beating them here. You know, and just, you know, you got to convert. You know, if you get a turnover, it has to be converted into a touchdown, you know, or at least a very long drive. But I think that's what it's going to come down to, this Kaiser defense versus this St. Thomas offense. That's how this game is going to be won here, because I know the St. Thomas defense, they're going to put in work. The Kaiser offense, they're going to put in work. Those are the strengths of that team. So we'll just have to see how this goes, but that'll be a close one as well. Let's go ahead and just make some predictions here, you know, just some honest opinions here. Kodey, what do you think is going to be the conference championship, and then who is going to be the Sun Conference champion here? You don't even have to give reasons why. Just say who it is. Just, you know, straight up guesses here. Predictions. Well,
I do want to point out first that across these 2 games here, against Kaiser, that Holly of St. Thomas here has completed 34 passes out of 66 attempts for a 51% completion percentage. That's not incredibly high. She did improve from the first matchup to this second matchup, but ultimately I see Kaiser walking away with the dub in this one. That defense is just suffocating. And, you know,
Kodey. Yeah. Julian Yolkowski is the starter for St. Thomas, I'm pretty sure. They
for this upcoming game?
She's been the starter. They put in Holly in as the last game because it was the last game of the season and whatnot. I feel like it probably didn't matter a lot. But
Holly also started that other game against Kaiser too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so they replaced her. I want to stay with Yokowski in that Thomas game or sometime soon. And so Julian Yokowski has been the start. So I don't know what they're doing at quarterback, to be honest with you, because they keep going back and forth. But Yokowski has definitely started the last 4 or 5 games. Well, basically all the games between these Kaiser matchups.
Maybe that's the shot in the arm that they need. But,
yeah, so I don't know.
Kaiser has been a pillar of consistency this season. And so I'm going to take Kaiser in this Kaiser versus St. Thomas matchup. And, man, this Warner and Thomas game I feel like is the hardest one to predict out of all of them, even including the championship. Because I feel like if Thomas wins this game, then I feel like I have Thomas as my Sun Conference champion. But if Warner wins this game, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm almost leaning Kaiser in a Warner versus Kaiser matchup. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Thomas, repeats their success against Warner here, just until Warner can show me something. And then I have Thomas winning my Sun Conference.
Okay, sounds good.
Our Sun Conference.
Okay, well, I'm going to pick Thomas and Kaiser in the conference championship. I just think that's going to happen. Those are obviously the favorite teams, though. Wouldn't be surprised if it's, St. Thomas Warner or some other combination, but I'm going to go ahead with Thomas and Kaiser. I mean, they haven't given me too many reasons to believe otherwise, and then I'm actually going to pick Kaiser to go ahead and defend their conference title here and win it. I think, I think if it is a Kaiser and Thomas matchup, I'm just going to be real. For Thomas, it's going to be tough beating Kaiser a third time. Now, you are at home. You do have some advantages here. But Kaiser, I'm just going to be honest, to be fair, to start that second matchup, they were just really, really bad to start that game. I'm not even going to lie, against Thomas. And so for them to kind of climb out of that hole that they put themselves into, to be fair, was pretty big. Because there were a couple opportunities here for Thomas to go up by 3 scores really early on, and they didn't quite get to 3 scores until a little bit later in this game. And so, that's kind of just where I'm at here. I think Kaiser, hopefully, they come sharp to start this game and play a full game, because I really feel like playing against Thomas, I mean, there are definitely some things that they are shooting themselves in the foot for. Whenever they play Thomas. And it's not like this Thomas defense isn't doing anything. Obviously, they're great, so you're already battling that. But if you're Kaiser, you just can't have stupid mistakes because of yourself, in those games. And so, assuming they play a clean game and whatnot, they don't make, too many self-inflicted mistakes, I think it's still a toss-up, but I think I'm going to lean towards Kaiser here, to win the Sun Conference. And then Thomas, they have a little bit more motivation going into this national tournament, which will be in Atlanta, by the way. But, they would have had a loss under the belt for the season, get that out of the way, and then go make a run at that national title. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I think Kaiser, they could definitely win the Sun Conference here. They just got to play a clean game. I think they're they match up really well against Thomas and whatnot. And don't get it twisted. It's going to be tough. And Thomas, they are favored in this game. I'm going to acknowledge that right now. If it is a Thomas and Kaiser matchup, they're favored in every matchup because it's, taking place here in Georgia and whatnot. But I just think to beat a team a third time, and the other 2 times were decided by, less than a touchdown, by a score, basically. I think Kaiser might get the edge just this one time here. So we'll see, But that's if it's a Thomas versus Kaiser matchup, to be completely honest with you. But, well, yeah. So yeah.
I want to say if we do get a Kaiser and Thomas matchup, the word of the game is patience here, right? Because both defenses are incredibly talented. And they do a great job of frustrating opponents by holding you to, 2-yard gains, 3-yard gains, sacking you, incompletions, right? Like, you have to know that heading into this game, if you're either team, that yards are not going to be easy to come by, and to just be patient and not force anything. Whichever, quarterback or offense is trying to force more plays is the team that I think is going to lose, because of just how good these defenses are at forcing turnovers, and whichever team can allow the other team to make more mistakes rather than or force the other team to make more mistakes, I think is going to walk away. If those two teams meet up, and on the offensive side of the ball, just for the love of goodness, you got to be patient. If you try and force something, you're going to end up losing this game.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, if I'm Jasmine Roden for Kaiser here, obviously you're going to want to take deep shots. I think you're going to need to take some deep shots here against Thomas to keep them honest. Because you don't want to just keep throwing a bunch of short routes, because that's what they want you to do, because they're going to come up and they're going to pull your flag, and they're probably the best flag pullers, best tacklers in the entire country, so you're going to have to take some deep shots here, but you got to, I like you said, I'd be careful about it, don't throw into double coverage. If it's 1-on-1 and it's a pick, that's fine. Your receiver should have won the 1-on-1 matchup. Most of your receivers are the type to, be able to win jump balls anyways, or scorch their defender. So, there's no excuse for them to not be able to win that 1-on-1 matchup. If it's double coverage, then I wouldn't even think about it. I think for Kaiser here, hey, just think methodical here, but just know that, you can't just rely on the short game. There's no way. And so potentially just be on the lookout for Haley Young coming in and them running this 2-quarterback set here. And running a little bit more, they might not pull it out right away, but maybe they wait until and just see how their normal offense works for the first or second quarter, and then they take out that 2-quarterback system in the second half to get a little bit of an edge here and give Thomas something to adjust to with a little bit less time. And so, I think those are just some things to look out for here. Obviously you want to be methodical, but you got to know as well, to beat this Thomas team, you're going to need some big plays. And so you're going to have to trust your receivers to win those 1-on-1 battles, because that's what it's going to come down to most likely, so there you go. But yeah, it should be a good day. If it's a St. Thomas and Warner matchup by somehow, that's going to be wild. I would probably take St. Thomas, against Warner, most likely, because I think they have a slightly better defense and a couple more receivers over there. But that's just me, so I'm just going to throw that out there just in case that scenario happens.
I could back that up.
Okay.
Warner specifically, the only thing that worries me about Warner heading into this postseason tournament is kind of their inability to close out games. We saw it very recently against Thomas, and they are very green. That's a great word for it. And St. Thomas, I think that when you have, any of these defenses outside of Warner's, I think Warner is kind of the no disrespect, of course, but they probably have the weakest defensive squad, and that's not really anything against them. That's a testament to the talent of the other squads here. But when you match up, defense wins championships. That includes conference championships. And, Warner, that means that they have to play mistake-free, whereas all of these other defenses, they can score, right? So if Warner makes a mistake on offense, it's more likely that Thomas or Kaiser or St. Thomas is going to score off of that mistake than maybe if it was Warner's defense making a play off of one of those other three teams' mistake.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we'll just have to see. Also, for Warner, I know we talked a lot about Cynthia Holmes and Madison Tingen, but there are obviously other players here that can contribute. And I'm looking at some of these other players to really step up and probably have a couple 100-yard games to get this thing going. Because Cynthia Holmes, obviously, she's going to be someone that everyone is going to be looking at, both offensively and defensively. So she's going to be the focus. But lately, Trinity Kieran, she has really, came on these last couple weeks as that number 2 receiver role and has scorched some defenses single-handedly. She's had a couple 100-yard games here, and so, she's going to have to definitely step up here when she gets those chances. Nevaeh Hamilton and Leah Lewis and Sade Green, those players, they'll probably take turns being a running back, receiver, whatever. They'll have to go ahead and step up here. Defensively, you'll have to step up as well. You can't allow everything. Obviously, you'll have to challenge, opposing offenses and get the ball back for your own offense. So there you go. But those are just a couple of names I want to throw out here. Jade Hickey as well from Newsome. She's seen some playing time at receiver, and so really I think they're gonna probably double Cynthia Homs here, or at least bracket her in, and so you're gonna need one of these other players like a Trinity Kieran, like a Nevaeh Hamilton to just step up, and take those opportunities, win those one-on-one matches, make a player miss, and make it happen. So I just want to give them a little bit more credit there, but they're gonna have to help out Homs and Tingen here for sure.
Yeah, no, it's all hands on deck here in the Sun Conference tournament if you want to walk away with a chip.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You have to be shooting on all cylinders, So we'll have to see, and that's just the nature of this conference. You got to be a complete team defensively and offensively, and if you're not, that's what other teams are going to attack, and that's why this conference is so good. So we'll see about that. This is definitely going to be a really fun one to watch. If you haven't watched women's flag football, or if you haven't had a chance to, go ahead and check it out, man. I mean, this weekend should be good. I'm going to throw this out there, though. You do have to pay for the live stream. I think it's worth it. It's like $15 to pay for all the games. So you get the I assume so, the semifinal games, and then the conference championship. We will most likely bite that bullet. Hopefully it's on demand too, though, because we both have jobs as well, and also it's on the East Coast, so that puts us a couple hours behind anyways. So yeah, like literally the conference championship Mountain Time will be starting at 1:30, and I don't think either of us will be anywhere near close to getting out of work. So just being honest, just throwing that out there, because I know we've had some messages about that, specifically from one of these teams. So, there you go there. But yeah, check out these games, man. They'll be good. Semifinal games will be awesome. They should be really competitive here. Either great defensive matchups or shootouts. Probably not shootouts. It'll probably just be great defensive matchups, to be honest with you. And then that conference championship, it'll be a rematch of some sort, because all these teams have played each other. So we'll see about that. And that also probably gave us a really good insight into, the national tournament as well. This will be the last time we'll be seeing some of these contenders play until nationals here in the second week of May. So yeah. Kodey, is there anything else you want to talk about here about this Sun Conference tournament before we briefly talk about power rankings?
Look, you have friends who you've gone over to their house and they've paid like over $100 for pay-per-view of really terrible fights. So pay the $15 and watch great football. Like, I know that's a little off topic, but you can do it. All right, like, don't make it a bigger deal than it is. So for our listeners. But no.
Hey, if you're on the East Coast, then just go drive there. That might sound like a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I know I just threw out the entire East Coast kind of under the bus.
Yeah. But, Maine. Drive down to Georgia.
It's probably closer than us driving out there. Not that we could afford it, anyways. But
ESPN, fly us out. Pay for our days off.
Or anybody, could fly us out. But yeah, hey, we'll find a way to watch those games so that we can react to them next week and whatnot. We'll find a way. Just trust that. But this should be a great environment for football. Honestly, should be a great day. I know they get started in the morning and whatnot, and so they'll just go back to back there. And then that conference game will be at like 1:30 our time, but like 3:30 their time or something like that. So there you go. But it should be fun. It should be really fun. It's history in the making. You have a first-year program out there hosting the entire thing, which is wild. So that's obviously great. You have a program with a first-year head coach out there. That'll be great. You have the defending Sun Conference champs from last year in Kaiser out there. You have a very talented St. Thomas squad, who is here to stay. I'm going to be real with you as well. This won't be the last time they make the Sun Conference tournament, so they'll be out here as well. So, it should be a great day for football. You have a lot of history in the making too. You have a lot of history in the making. So, yep, there you go. Kodey, do you want to just go ahead and talk about power rankings real quick here?
Yes.
All right, so power rankings. Nothing has really changed. Let me just go ahead and look at this. Really, we expected this the last couple weeks for these power rankings to pretty much stay the same unless a team got upset, which, the only team that potentially could have been upset was Ottawa if they lost to either, Midland or Kansas Wesleyan, which did not happen. So, congratulations to both of them. So, just to go down this list, this is our power rankings from the last couple weeks, which have been the same. At number 1, Thomas. Number 2, Kaiser. Number 3, Ottawa. Number 4, St. Thomas. Number 5, Weber. At 6, we had Warner. 7, we had Kansas Wesleyan. 8, St. Mary's. 9, Florida Memorial. 10, Midland. 11, Cottey. 12, Milligan. So there you go. This week, really nothing has changed, pretty much all the same, except we're going to move Warner ahead of Weber here. So Warner is now at 5 and Weber is at 6, whereas it was switched the previous week. Other than that, everything's the same. Thomas is still 1. 2 is Kaiser. Did think about putting Ottawa at 3, though. At 2. They were already at 3 because they did win their conference. But, we'll see. We'll see about that. And then St. Thomas here, nothing too crazy happened. They're still at 4. They lost to Kaiser over the weekend, but, Kaiser's at 2, so make what you want there. But, yeah, the only change here is Warner and Weber switching. Kodey, do you want to talk about these power rankings? I see you typing here as well, where I usually talk for you, but you're here now, so.
I'm here. Not a lot of surprises, honestly. I jot these down usually just to get my thoughts in order. But, Thomas, I put down that the comeback win leaves no room to move them, which is true. But, it speaks for themselves as they head in with the number 1 seed and, home field / state advantage in the Sun Conference tournament. So now it's just up to them to defend their name in their inaugural Sun Conference tournament appearance. Kaiser here. I have this is a championship caliber defense and the defending Sun Conference champs heading into the tournament and will do everything they can to defend their throne. These are things that we talked about in this segment itself. So no surprises here. Ottawa, dominant displays for this Ottawa team that has a suffocating defense and can make big plays with their MVP caliber QB and surrounding athletic talent. Look, Ottawa can beat you in so many ways, it's insane. And, while they did struggle a little bit on, their trip to Florida and whatnot, I think that was good for them and that this national tournament, I think that things are kind of going the way that they want them to. I think that they're in a great rhythm following, whatever happens here at this Sun Conference tournament and how the national tournament might shake out here. St. Thomas, just their inconsistency on offense here, just throughout the season, has me very worried about this Sun Conference appearance. And, I'd love to be proven wrong. And, this defense is championship caliber, but I got to see signs out of the offense before I start to believe. And then I'll wrap up here at 5 and kind of let you give your thoughts here, Simon. But, Warner here, obviously, they banged up Weber pretty hard, which I think is a great shot in the arm heading into this Sun Conference tournament. I don't think that, Warner or Weber, I don't think that one is significantly better than the other necessarily. So for them to come away with a huge win to end their regular season is spectacular. It helps them end with a winning record on the regular season, and I think inspires plenty of confidence of, this Warner squad heading into the Sun Conference tournament. So, I do think that they have to buckle up a little bit here on the defensive side of the ball and make some big plays there to kind of match the energy that the other three Sun Conference teams have. But I really like them as a potential spoiler here in the tournament. Simon, what do you think of these top 5 teams here? I mean, you and I agreed on it. And what do you think of, the one piece of movement here from this past week?
Nothing too crazy. I mean, Warner and Weber have been really close. Weber, look, man, they were kind of right on that cusp. They've had a very up and down season. They've shown that they can beat some of these top dogs here, but it's just consistency with them, and so that's why they're at 6. That's why they're not in the Sun Conference tournament either, and so going to Nationals will be really interesting. So I think they're probably the ultimate wild card, honestly. Like, they're a team that could, get hot for a couple games here, on a weekend and, just really, really just like light it up, and so that's definitely a team to look out for in Nationals. But other than that, rest of these teams here, I mean, obviously Ottawa, they won their conference, so that's big time. Rest of these teams, it'll be really interesting to see them play them and just kind of see how, this turns out, Look, if every team wins and, if every team that's favored wins, then, nothing changes, obviously. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's an upset, right before Nationals, because, some teams might be feeling themselves a little bit more than they should. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, this Weber squad here at 6, there is a lot to look forward to in Nationals, but I think that there's also a lot to be worried about. I mean, they just have made so many tiny mistakes throughout this year that, it's one of those things where they start to add up. They've death by paper cutted themselves, throughout the season and out of the Sun Conference tournament. And when you have teams that make a bunch of little mistakes like that, I mean, we just saw it with Kansas Wesleyan in the KCAC. And, while Kansas Wesleyan was able to make it to the tournament, because it's a little bit less stout over there in the KCAC, it's still a similar way of looking at both these teams where it's like, yeah, no, they can compete, but have they shown me the mental strength and the maturity and the consistency that I need to believe in them heading into Nationals? Question mark, right? I've seen the high end of what both these teams can do, and I think that it's the best. It can be up there with the best of them, but their lows and how often they trip and stumble is what places a cloud of doubt here.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. But we'll see. When it comes to Nationals, obviously you have pool play, so that'll happen. And then after that, I mean, you have 2 or 3 games to play, right? Anybody could get hot for 2 or 3 games, especially when they're back-to-back. And so it's really any given day when it comes to Nationals, man, because, you could be having a kind of a up and down season, and then all of a sudden near the end, you find yourself on the ups, and I mean, look, they have the potential to really blow out some teams. We saw what they did to Ottawa. That wasn't a fluke. They played very well. It wasn't like Ottawa was shooting themselves in the foot. Weber made plays, and so this is, we'll just see about them. I don't want to count them out or make any bold prediction against them, but we'll see, because I feel like just as much as they're capable of making some tough self-inflicted mistakes, they are capable of getting it together and just being just a tough force to deal with. So there you go. What about the back end of these power rankings, Kodey? What do you think about them?
Well, okay, so on the back end here, I mean, I'm just going to fire them off. We talked about Weber and KWU here at 6 and 7. 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, you have Milligan, but I don't have anything to say. Hopefully we see them in the national tournament, but you can't see me. I'm shrugging my shoulders because I have no idea. But anyways, Midland here, I was tempted to raise a conversation on potentially moving them up following their semifinal or, their wild card win over Cottey. They still won a game in the KCAC tournament, but the missed plays is what lands them here at 10, because this is a very different game if they get those 12 points that they left on the field between the deep strike down the right sideline. And, I'd say probably that slant route over the middle is the one that should have been the points. I know it was a diving catch attempt, so it was a hard catch to make. But, those 12 points, they really could have used that in that game against Ottawa. And I think that the final score looks very different if you have momentum, if you have 2 touchdowns to close that gap against Ottawa, and or even potentially take a lead depending on how the points shake out, right? So, missed opportunities, but definitely someone to keep an eye on heading into nationals, honestly. But FMU, if they don't give me any reason to move them down, and their defense can literally shut down anyone, it's, their offense that I hope is, installing, maybe some, plays that they're like really confident in and they're very comfortable running, and, they can get a quick pickup of yards and whatnot. Or maybe they're installing some trick plays and they get, like double reverse pass, or, maybe some crazy stuff just to generate some offense. Because, the offense has just been stuck in the mud, for this FMU squad here at 9. I realize that I'm kind of jumping around 10, 9, 12 here a little bit, but that's what happens when Cody Stauffer gets on the show to talk about power rankings, because that's how my mind works. But, going back in the original order here, I have St. Mary's here at 8 because, they should be probably number 7 right here after getting that lead and having a perfect opportunity to put a nail in the coffin. But really, Angel Roman just made one of the best plays of the entire season. I'm willing to say that Angel Roman pick 6 was one of the best plays of the entire season thus far. And, if there was a play of the year, that could be a high candidate, honestly, because of the timing and just the athleticism and everything. And then St. Mary's is just the unfortunate soul on the other end of a great, great play. And, it'll be interesting. Like Simon, you were mentioning that this is going to be an interesting offseason and that there's a lot of turnover on the horizon for this Spire squad. So we'll see kind of what they look like heading into the future. Simon, if you want to recalibrate the listeners and kind of talk about our 8, 9, 10 here, and then give your thoughts on Cottey's KCAC season, go for it.
Well, I don't have too much to say. I kind of already said 8, 9, 10. That's St. Mary's, FMU, Midland. St. Mary's, they had their chance. They just didn't get it. I think, look, you can't dwell on the past. Obviously, you can learn from it. But right now, you're going into nationals, and you do have a couple of seniors who have been here before. And so, I think you just got to look forward towards nationals and be ready to play. That's what it will come down to. So there you go. FMU, they didn't play this last week, so nothing too crazy. Or wait, did they play this last week? I can't remember. I don't think they did. But, defensively, they're tough for sure. They're definitely one of the top defenses in the country. Offensively, I don't know. They definitely need a quarterback. They've tried working around it, valiantly, if I might add, but it's just a tough go. So we'll see about FMU. Midland, they stay here. A lot of optimism, though, obviously, because of how close they played Ottawa. So they need to build on that. So we'll see about that. And then at 11, we have Cottey. Look, they're continuing to rebuild here. It's definitely going to be a learning season for them and whatnot, and that includes this nationals tournament. They have a lot of young players on that squad, and so this will just be a really good experience for them to, just enjoy it, right? Get out there, have some fun, learn, obviously, and then, get back to the drawing board this offseason and continue to get better as they build a very good program out there, But, this group of young players they have over there at Cottey, this freshman group, that's going to be the core moving forward. And so, I just suggest, hey, have fun and learn the most you can moving forward, not only from this last season, but from this national tournament as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and, you summarized FMU's last game against St. Thomas. It was just 25-0. so it's whatever. Keeping them kind of here at 9. But yeah, I agree with everything you say, and I'm excited for this Sun Conference tournament, and furthermore, very, very excited for nationals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So there you go. But that'll actually wrap up this episode of the Playmakers Corner here. Thank you so much for rocking with us. I know this is kind of a longer episode, but there's a lot to talk about here as we are entering the last couple weeks of the season. No award update race for today. We are going to probably start cutting down some of these award races to our final 4. We are partnering with NAIA football or NAIA F-ball, I guess. Not the official NAIA, entity, I guess, but another media outlet that covers everything NAIA when it comes to football, both women's flag football and regular football. So go ahead and check them out. But we'll be partnering with them and talking through some of these Final Four lists. And so be on the lookout for our end of the year awards. Those will probably drop probably near the end of the season. We'll vote. Well, I guess. Yeah. We'll vote at the end of the season. So be on the lookout for that. And if you want to look out for that, go ahead and follow us on our social medias. That's at Playmakers Corner on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. All our news should be streaming through those if you want to stay updated on episodes and, more schedule stuff like that, and just see more content as well. And speaking of content, go ahead and, subscribe to us on YouTube. We hit 70 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. We are posting these episodes on there whenever we can, hopefully. We're also posting our Twitch streams on there as well. So go ahead and check out our YouTube channel for more content there. And then follow us on Twitch. We're a handful of followers away from affiliate, I'm pretty sure. And so that once we hit affiliate, we'd actually be able to make money, because we definitely do all this for free. And don't get it twisted, it's fun to do this. We love covering not only women's flag football, but football in general in Colorado and around the country. But, we'd like to also have some of our expenses paid for, because this podcast isn't cheap. We try to bring it to you at full, at a good quality. So, follow us. Give us a follow there. And that would help us out a lot. So, yeah. And then just kind of a little bit of an update here. So this episode is dropping on Wednesday. I know usually we have our recaps on Friday, but there's no Thursday game, so we're just going to drop it on Wednesday. And so that's when this will come out. On Friday, though, we do have a big episode. We're going to spotlight a handful of players here. I believe Cottey and I are each picking 2 or 3 women's flag football players, either seniors or juniors in high school right now. And we're going to do a film breakdown on them. We're going to talk about what makes their game great, some things they could probably work on moving forward, and their future, as most of these players will probably play women's flag football and be some players that we talk about here in the future, here in the coming years. And so we want to spotlight the future of this game. And then also, speaking of the future of this game, go ahead and check out our last episode where we interviewed 2 players in Deja Fanning and Savannah Cox. Deja Fanning has committed to Florida Memorial, so she'll be joining that great defense over there. They're getting a heck of a defensive player and rusher. And then Midland will be getting Savannah Cox, fantastic 2-way player who can play offense and defense. We interviewed both of them, talk about their experiences over at Leonard High School, their football experiences in general, and all that great stuff. So check out that interview. And then last but not least, best of luck to all the Florida teams who are now hitting the playoffs. I know the first round has happened. They are in districts right now. We here at Playmakers Corner are specifically following Newsom and Leonard closely. We may not be posting about them too much or talking about them on a podcast, but we're definitely following both of those teams and their success. And because we have a lot of players that we have formed good connections with over there, like Devin Silvestri, who we've interviewed, like the Ludwigs, who we've done breakdowns on and will hopefully get onto the show soon here. And then obviously all the Leonard girls, Savannah, Caitlin, Emma, Deja, all those great players out there. And so, best of luck to all those Florida teams, though. and all of our PMC fam. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say. I know that's been a lot. Oh, interviews. I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there in case you're still listening. If you're a women's college flag football player, we'd love to interview you, especially if you happen to be on the all conference list. We'd love to interview you. So, if you'd be interested, go ahead and reach out to us. We'll definitely be reaching out to a couple players as well, as we do want to get more of those interviews on here. So, yeah. Kodey, is there anything you want to say?
I have been one of your co-hosts for this episode, Kodey Stauffer.
And I'm Coach V. We will see you when we do our film breakdowns on Friday. So, yeah. Peace.